We on. I believe we are on. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. We are on. Good morning. Hope everyone's having a great day. Welcome to the new month. For those of you who are watching live, in a new month, make sure you have your goals written down for the month of November. Lifeguard 2301. Good morning to you. As y'all are coming in, get yourselves comfortable. We're going to get into this topic that I touched on yesterday, and some people heard me touch on it and said, please, Dre, do a whole training, because this is not just a live, this is a training. I'm going to train you all and educate some of you to some things that you may not understand, or some things that maybe you thought of. Maybe they have somewhat occurred to you, but you haven't really gone deep into why you may have these inklings. I'm going to explain to you why you should have these. These are further, more than inklings. I'm going to explain to you how the entire healthcare system in the United States of America is a complete scam. I'm going to explain that to you. And yes, it is a scam. I'm going to explain that. Again, if you happen to work in the healthcare industry, that's your fucking problem. All right. I didn't tell you to sign up for that. You did. And I'm not knocking you if you do work in the healthcare system, because just the way that I tell you that the federal government's a scam, that doesn't mean you're a bad person if you work there. The educational system in America is also a scam, and it's trash. Doesn't mean you're a bad person if you're a teacher. And the medical system in the United States is a scam. Doesn't mean you're a bad person if you are a doctor or a nurse or a anesthesiologist or whatever other titles you can get. Listen, they're paying you, right? All right. And the checks are clearing. Okay. And I can't knock you for getting your check. At the same time, the industry itself is a scam. And I'm going to explain that, and I'm going to help all of you understand it and how all this connects to the votes, because this is part of the federal system. So let's get into how all this stuff works, because I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but we're going to get into the detail of it here today. So first of all, let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete. I'm author of 35 books. I've done 4 TEDx talks. I created this brand called Work on Your Game. Our job here is to help you perform at your highest level, do it consistently, and to produce more results in whatever it is that you're doing. And I will answer all questions and comments at the end. So if you have a question or comment, go ahead and put it in the comments when I'm done. If you're on TikTok specifically, on all the other apps, Rumble, YouTube, X, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, you can leave a comment whenever you want. On TikTok, if you want me to actually see your comment, you probably want to wait until I start addressing the comments, because there are so many notifications that come through on TikTok that you can't even go to the top anymore. So if you want to actually have me see your stuff, you might want to wait till the end. But you can do what you want to do. Shout out to everybody on TikTok. Shout out to the For You page on TikTok, which keeps posting my stuff so that more of you can find out about me. So follow me while you're here, by the way, for those of you on TikTok. So first of all, let's get clear what a scam is. So we're going to call something a scam. We got to be clear what a scam actually means so that we're all on the same page. Those of you who are new to me, I like to make sure I define terms and make them very clear so everyone understands these things, so that nobody is confused as to what exactly I'm talking about when I say these things. And if you see me looking from one side to another, it's because I got 3 different screens going here. So I'm looking at 3 different lenses just to make sure I'm giving everybody a little bit of attention. So a scam is defined as a fraudulent business scheme. That's it. A scam is a fraudulent business scheme. Now, that does not mean that something that is a fraudulent business scheme couldn't possibly help a few people in the process. Doesn't mean a couple people couldn't be helped themselves by being part of the scam or running in the scam or working within the scam. The federal government is a scam. Doesn't mean if you work there that you are necessarily a criminal. The medical system is a scam. Doesn't mean if you're a doctor, doesn't mean you are a criminal. Just like the educational system is trash, doesn't mean you are a trash person if you happen to be a teacher. All right, so everyone clear on that? So I don't want anybody getting in their feelings, coming in here talking stupid, because you will get clowned if you do so. So I want to make sure that we laid that out from the beginning. So now that everybody knows what a scam is, I want you all to understand what I'm going to lay out here, the bricks that I'm going to build as I build this house. Is helping you all understand how the medical system, the medical industry in the United States, the healthcare system, is all about building up this ongoing need for you to be in it with things that you may never have needed in the first place. But because you are indoctrinated to want them, then it moves you right into their system. It's a beautiful system. That's why this scam has been running for decades in the United States, because the system is set up for it to work. And the scams eventually fall apart when they don't have the proper, let's call it mechanics, but the medical system in the United States has excellent mechanics. That's why it keeps working. Same way that the educational system has the proper mechanics. That's why it keeps working. So let's start with the Federal Food and Drug Administration. Everybody heard of the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration? All right, y'all heard of these people, right? You might not know a ton about them. You don't need to know a ton about them. I'm going to tell you some basics about them that doesn't require you having a college degree or working anywhere to understand, okay? The Food and Drug Administration. Let me just tell you one simple thing about them that is going to be the foundation of the point that I want to make here today. Half of the money that the Food and Drug Administration receives to operate, because every business, they have people working there, so they got to pay these people, right? So the money has to come from somewhere. Where's that money come from? Well, first of all, it's hard for it to come from the federal government because, as we know, you should know if you listen to me, the federal government is $35 trillion in debt. Actually, you don't need to listen to me to know that. That's not a Dre Baldwin point. That's a actual fact. And the number is actually rising. There's a website out there called worlddebtclock.org. Can somebody put that URL in the comments, especially over on TikTok? Is worlddebtclock.org, DEBT debtclock.org, O-R-G. And on that site, you can actually see what the United States debt actually is. And it tells you, or it might be US debt clock. Let me double check that. Did I say world debt clock? It might be US debt clock. Let me check that real quick. US debt, I think it's US debt clock. I might have said, yes, US debt clock, excuse me. So I said world debt clock, I meant US debt clock. USDEBTCLOCK.org. Can somebody put that comment in there? USDebtClock.org. Right now, the United States debt is $35,841,949,700, now 800, and now $900,000. All right, $35 trillion in debt, and soon it's going to be $36 trillion. All right, USDebtClock.org. So the United States government is completely in debt, so they can't really finance everything that the Food and Drug Administration does. So where does half of the Food and Drug Administration's money come from? Does anybody know the answer? Class? All right, I'll tell you the answer. Half of it comes from pharmaceutical companies. Half of the money, so just understand what I'm telling you here. Half of the money that the Food and Drug Administration receives to operate its business comes from pharmaceutical companies who make and sell the drugs that get given to you. Now, this is the only thing you need to understand about the FDA, what I just told you. Now I'm going to help you understand why you need to understand that and how this creates a serious issue. Because what this is all about, what I'm going to explain here today, everything I'm going to tell you about the healthcare scam in the United States is all about the ongoing conflicts of interest that have you stuck in the middle. All right, these are ongoing conflicts of interest. And now the Food and Drug Administration, this organization ostensibly is designed to keep all of us safe, to make sure that the foods that we take in and the pharmaceuticals that we use, if you choose to use pharmaceuticals, I don't take any kind of drugs. I'm not an over-the-counter prescription. I'm not into any of that stuff. But if you so choose to do so, not saying that they're all bad, but understand that the organization who is there ostensibly to make sure you are kept safe from taking in bad food and bad drugs, half of their money comes from companies that make drugs. Now, ask yourself how that makes sense. Ask yourself how that makes sense. That'd be like if the chickens, if you owned a farm and the chickens had an organization that was designed to keep them safe from the foxes and the wolves, half of the money that they received in order to keep themselves safe from the foxes and the wolves, their organization, the chicken safety organization, half of their money was given to them by the foxes and the wolves. Tell me how that makes any sense. That's what the Food and Drug Administration's operations tell you just right off the top. That's just surface level understanding. Does everybody understand this? This is where the conflicts of interest begin. And this is why you got to be careful with the healthcare industry. So half their money is coming from people who sell drugs, and their whole business is making sure that you don't get the wrong drugs into your body. Now, I talked about this yesterday when we talked about lobbyists. We talked about lobbying. Lobbyists are people who live in Washington, D.C., and they live there because all the people who make the laws in the United States, including the laws for the FDA, they're all based in Washington, D.C. I think most of you understand that, right? So since they're all in Washington, D.C., these lobbyists, let's say I work for a pharmaceutical company. Let's say I had Dre Baldwin Pharmaceuticals, right? And I make certain drugs that I want people to take because the more people I get to take my drug, the more money my company makes. And I'm trying to make money. I'm a capitalist. I want to make money. So I go send one of my lobbyists or I hire a lobbyist and I send them to Washington, D.C. Go get a hotel in D.C., go get an Airbnb, go live in Washington, D.C. Your whole job every day, all day, is to meet with and talk to the people in Congress, because those are the people who make the laws. In case y'all didn't know, the president does not make laws. The president can sign a law or veto a bill that they could make into a law, but the laws are actually formulated and decided on what this law is going to be or what this bill could be by Congress. Those are your Congress people, your senators, those people. So the lobbyist's job is not to go meet with the president, but to go meet with the people in Congress, and there are hundreds of them. Go meet with these folks and basically get them to draft bills that could possibly become laws when signed by the president, draft bills that allow us to more freely sell more of the drugs that we want to sell, put more of the kind of foods that we want to put out into the world. This is the whole job of the lobbyists. And the pharmaceutical industry does a ton of lobbying. They spend a ton of money just trying to influence the government to allow them to make and sell more of the drugs that they want to sell, put more of the chemicals that they want to put into their food, into the foods that you eat. This is what they're doing in this industry. All right, this is what the whole game is. And by the way, I'm going to take all questions and comments at the end. I see them coming through I got 3 different screens here, so I'll take all questions and comments at the end. So this is what the lobbyists and the medical system do. Is that not even a medical system? This is the pharmaceutical industry, which is a business. This is not a private thing. These are just entrepreneurs. So again, if I'm running a pharmaceutical company, I will do this. I will send a lobbyist, or maybe I'll just go there myself and just start lobbying and persuading and influencing these people to allow me. For example, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, when I was doing this live, I mentioned Skittles as a candy. It was the candy that I like to eat. I actually ate some Skittles yesterday. And a bunch of you, especially on TikTok, were leaving comments like, Dre, I didn't know this, but a bunch of you knew it, that Skittles are actually banned in a whole lot of other countries. Like America is one of the few countries where Skittles can actually be sold. And the reason is, some people were saying, they were following up in comments like, there are certain dyes and chemicals in the Skittles that other countries said, no, you can't sell this to our people. But in America, it's allowed. So let's just address that. How is this possible? And you don't have to understand any type of medicine or chemistry to even just think about this on a logical, critical thinking level. And I'm not a medical expert, nor am I a chemist, but let's just talk about it on a critical thinking level, because I am a critical thinker. So if Skittles is banned in other countries, but it's allowed here in America, that means that the laws in America allow certain things through for you to eat and put in your body that other countries won't allow through to put in their bodies. Why is that? Well, one reason is America is thank you for helping me reach that goal, Grace in Gains over there on TikTok. One of the reasons that America is a capitalist society, and I have no problem with capitalism. At the same time, I will tell you that everything in life has a trade-off. So anything that you accept on one side and you see all the good stuff, there are some trade-offs on the other side that may not be as good. This is just how life works. There are no perfect scenarios. There are only trade-offs. One of the trade-offs of a capitalistic society, which is what we have here in the United States, is that people will do things for money that may be a little bit unscrupulous. And when it comes to the medical industry, there are a lot of people doing some unscrupulous things, a lot of unscrupulous things in order to maximize profits. And if you don't understand what's happening, you may become a victim of the game. And I'm going to get into explaining that, because some of you are already victims of the game and don't even know it. Some of you are victims of the game and you do know it. That's what we're going to talk about here today. So Jennifer on TikTok, yeah, I see what you said there. So some of you are already victims of the game, or you're around people who've been victims of the game. So the Food and Drug Administration already has a conflict of interest because they allow the companies that make the drugs to give them money to keep operating, again, which makes no sense. It's kind of like the foxes financing the protection of the chickens. All right, it doesn't make any sense. They're just making it easier for them to do what they want to do. So these ongoing scams that come from, thanks to the Food and Drug Administrations being lobbied by the pharmaceutical industries. So when you understand, when I say pharmaceutical industries, and this is also the companies that make the food that you eat, that your kids eat, that you eat, that get sold to you in restaurants, that are in the grocery stores, unless you run your own farm and you make sure you check on the soil, which most of us don't. We get our food from who knows where. I mean, you know who you got it from, but you don't know who made it. You don't know who touched it before that. You don't know what's actually in it. Most of you, or not, I won't say most of you, some of you do not read the labels on your food. And even if you did read the label, you would still eat it anyway. Now, this is how many of us live here in the United States. These are ongoing scams when it comes to the labeling. Do any of you know? Do some of you maybe know this, but A lot of you probably don't know that when a food is labeled fat-free, it does not necessarily have to be 0% fat. Did you know that? That you can label a food fat-free is just a certain number. And all the lobbyists do is, I'm just making this as a rough example. I'm not saying this is factually how it works. But factually, the fact is a food does not have to be 0% fat to be labeled fat-free. That is a fact. And as an example, what I mean is the lobbyists, they'll do something like they will go to the FDA and they'll say, hey, how about we change the limit for calling something fat-free? Instead of it being 0%, let's say 5% or less, that can be fat-free. Or they'll say, well, how about we change it to 7% or less fat-free? Or how about 12% or less fat-free? That's the kind of stuff that they do. This is the kind of stuff that lobbyists do. This is the kind of stuff that the FDA allows. So when you buy food and you think you're eating fat-free food, it is not actually fat-free. And again, if something says organic, y'all know that for something to be organic, generally what that means is that it doesn't have any chemicals put on it. So if I go to the store and I buy some organic strawberries, that means there were no pesticides sprayed on my strawberries, and the strawberries were grown in soil that has never been treated with pesticides. Understand that that's not necessarily what organic means anymore when you buy stuff from a store. So if something says organic, it could have still been treated with pesticides. It's just a certain amount of pesticides. So as long as it's 3 or less pesticides, example, then we can call it organic. But if it's 4, then you can't call it organic. So what the lobbyists will do is they'll go to the government and Congress and they'll say, well, let's change that to 10 or less. So as long as it's been treated with 10 or less pesticides within 30 days or more, then we can call it organic. So when you're buying organic things, they're not always organic. All right, this is the kind of stuff that happens. Again, I'm giving you rough examples here, but this is the kind of stuff that happens in the government with the food that you're eating. So when you think you're eating one thing, you're actually eating another thing. Y'all understand this? This is the way that the game works when it comes to the healthcare industry. And I'm only getting started here. We're going to get further into this here. So these are the ongoing scams when it comes to the labeling of foods, when it comes to the naming of foods, and they're doing a whole lot of lying to you because, and here's the other thing you all should understand. See, and I talked about this yesterday, when a bill gets signed into law in the United States government, or a bill is even being proposed by the government, y'all know all that stuff is public information. All of that is available to you. You can look up any law that exists in the United States of America in any state and the federal laws, and you can read every single one of those laws down to the detail and find out exactly what they say and what they don't say. This is what lawyers do, for example. The problem is these laws and bills are written out in so much exacting detail. These bills and laws will be hundreds of pages with all this text and tons of detail. Most people don't have the time to read all that stuff. And this is how the lawmakers in the United States who work at the Capitol building, the lawmakers in the United States are able to pass stuff under our noses because we don't have the time to read all this stuff in detail. And they design it in that way just to make sure that it's so complex that you won't take the time to know what's happening, and they can slip in whatever they want to slip into anything they want to do. This is how they do it. And this is the reason why you can't trust the government. This is the reason why I don't trust any politician who is, especially career politicians, because without being a liar, if you're not a liar, you cannot survive in that world. It's impossible. You can't be an honest politician and have a career in politics. You can be an honest politician and maybe win an election or two. You can't have a whole career without being a dishonest person. It's impossible because of the way that the system is set up, because you know you're lying to people. And you don't have to outright tell them a direct lie. You can lie by omission. Right? A lie by omission, for example, is we have an election coming up, right? So you hear Vice President Harris. She talks about, people ask her questions about immigration, like, hey, Vice President Harris, your administration that you work with Joe Biden, and who knows if Joe Biden's actually doing anything these days, your administration that you work in, you all have allowed this super high immigration to come in. These people who generally would have been called illegal, now they're getting fast tracked to having legal status, so they can't call them illegal immigrants. That's another little game that they're playing, if y'all haven't caught that. And they've let in at least 12 million undocumented people. At least they were undocumented when they came in. And then they got them legal status. And they asked Vice President Harris, hey, why haven't you guys done anything to fight this? And we know the real answer. Here's the real answer. The real answer is they wanted this to happen, because if they didn't want all those people coming in, they wouldn't allow them to come in. When Trump was president, there were about 2 million undocumented people got into the United States. When Biden is president right now, there's been about 12 million, and that's just the ones that they can count. So we know the number's been super high. And they asked Vice President Harris, why are y'all allowing this to happen? And the answer is they want it to happen, but she can't say that because that would destroy her campaign. She says, well, Mr. Reporter or person asking me a question, We created this border bill. You'll hear him mentioning the border bill. We created this border bill that is designed, that was bipartisan. We got some Republicans to go with it. We got all the Democrats to go with it. And we're about to get this bill passed into law. But Donald Trump, who's not even in the government right now, he told his Republican friends to not vote for the bill. So that's the reason why we haven't been able to do it. That's what her line of reasoning has been. That's her claim. Here's the reason I'm bringing all of that up, is to say this, that if you read the bill, and all of you can go look up this bill, that border bill she keeps talking about, go read the bill. Inside that bill, there's a whole bunch of other things that have nothing to do with immigration in the bill. This is, and I'm bringing this up, it's not really about Harris and Trump right now. I'm just using this as an example because all you know who Harris and Trump are. But this is an example of what the government does when they're passing bills. And what they'll do is they'll take a bill and they'll label it a certain way. So this is the bill about the border. This is the bill about education. Here's the bill about the books you can have in schools. Here's the bill about health. Here's the bill about the roads. Here's the bill about what we're going to do for lowering the government's debt. They'll label the bill with one main thing. And that's what they'll tell to the public. That's what they tell the masses of people. Well, this bill is about this or this or this. And it'll be one thing. If any of you goes online and looks up any of these bills, you'll notice that the documents, the PDF document, it'll be like 100 pages, 200 pages, 300 pages. If the bill is only about one thing, why is it 300 pages? I'll wait while any of you answers that question. And somebody said it right there. Texan 357 said, to hide garbage and to fund anything. That's pretty much what they're doing. If the bill is only about the border, and is all about, well, we're just going to shore up the border and close the border, and we're going to stop letting undocumented people into the country. If that's what you're doing, it should be like one page. Why is it 300 pages? Because in those other 300 pages, they hide everything else that they're not telling you. So they call it the border bill. But any of you knows anything about that border bill, the majority of the money that would be created, because the government doesn't have any money. So the money that would be created in order to fund the border, the majority of the money was going to that country over there in Europe with the letter U. I don't know if I can say that country out on TikTok. So y'all know the country I'm talking about, the country that is currently in a military conflict with the other country with the letter R. I know I can't say that country with the letter R. I've said it before, and TikTok warned me, hey, don't say that. But the country with the letter U. All right. The majority of the money was going to that country. All right. So this was the border bill. So the border bill that Kamala Harris keeps saying that she was trying to get passed, most of the money in that bill was not going to the southern border of the United States. It was going to the country with the letter U. That's just an example. Just an example for you to understand that when they say that they're doing a bill about one thing, there's actually a whole bunch of other things in there that you don't see. And they call that, in the government, they call it pork. That's the pork in the bill, P-O-R-K. And it's just a euphemism. Pork just means all the extra stuff that they don't tell you that goes into those bills that most citizens never know about. And even if a citizen, let's say somebody like me, let's say I started a website to say Government Watch, somebody probably already has this, websites where they look at all the bills and they tell you what's really happening. See, when someone like that comes along and they start telling you what's really happening, what most people look at them and say, well, you're just a conspiracy theorist. You're just a hater. You're just hating on the whatever administration. You're hating on the Democrats. You're hating on the Republicans. Why? Because most human beings are lazy. Most human beings are too lazy to actually know what's going on. And that's just human nature. And this is why it's a scam. The reason it's a scam because it keeps working. See, if a scam gets found out, then it falls apart. The reason that the medical industry scam works, and I'm talking about the medical industry, I'm just using the government and the current presidential candidates as an example to help you understand that these ongoing scams are happening all the time, and they're always passing laws. When's the last time you heard an announced law about what goes in your food? Any of you who's listening to this? When's the last time you heard an announced law or bill being passed about what is in the drugs that you take? Any of you who takes prescription drugs? Any of you who buys over-the-counter pharmaceuticals? What exactly are you putting in your body when you take that stuff? What are you putting in your body? Those of you who took the shot, the jab, during that virus that we had a few years ago, what exactly was in that? Do you have any idea? But you took it anyway? Oh, and then you took a couple of boosters. You took 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 boosters. What exactly did you put in your body? Do you have any idea? My question to you, any of you who took those shots, what were you putting in your body? You don't know, but you took it anyway. And then you took another one and another one. And then you went and told other people to do it. And then you got a little sticker that said you did it. Are you joking? Why'd you put that in your body? I'm just asking this question. What did you put in your body? Okay, let's look at it this way. Who are the people that we know in society to be somebody? God's four brothers said, what site do you use for the bills? You can just Google it. The U.S. government website. The U.S. government tells you every bill they pass is on the books. All of it has to be, because the government, remember, I want all of you also to remember, the government works for us. We don't work for them. They work for us. So they got to tell us everything that they're doing. The issue is most people are too lazy to go look at what they're doing. Who are the people who are known in society for being the best when it comes to their bodies, their physical bodies? Most people would agree that those are athletes, right? Athletes are known for just being really good in terms of how they use their bodies, taking care of their bodies, what they put in their bodies. You got to be very, very up and up as far as what you're doing with your body, because your body is your entire career when you're an athlete. And anytime an athlete gets caught taking something that they're not supposed to take, they often say something like, hey, I look at everything I put in my body. My trainer helps me. My nutritionist helps me. All of that stuff. Athletes are very, detailed about what they put in their bodies, right? So if you were to use the people who are best known for taking care of their bodies as a example, let's say, what are you putting in your body? When you eat the foods that you eat, are you reading the labels of those foods? Do you even know what these things are? Let me give you an example. I told you Skittles. I'm into Skittles. I told you that I ate some Skittles the other day. And I know these are not good for me, but I'm human. So I do sometimes eat Skittles. So I'm going to look at the label on these Skittles. And I want any of you who's listening to this to tell me what this is. Okay. So I'm reading the ingredients on a pack of Skittles, wild berry Skittles. Okay. So none of you think that I think that I'm perfect. I know these are not good for me, but I like them anyway. So I'm eating them anyway. So let's see what's in the Skittles. Okay. And for those of you who don't know, anytime you read the ingredients on a product, they go in the order of how much is in each one. So whatever the first thing is, it has the more of that than anything else. And whatever the last thing is, it has the least of that than everything else on the label. So they go in order of how much they have in there. Number one ingredient in Skittles. Anybody know the answer? What's the number one ingredient in Skittles? Somebody said, what do we need to do to change the narrative? Read 6-8 over on Instagram. This is not a narrative. This is reality. And I'll get to that. Let me get through all my points, then I'm gonna get to it. What's the number one ingredient in sugar? I just gave it away. Sugar. Number one ingredient is sugar. SUGAR. Number one ingredient in a pack of Skittles is sugar. Next one, and Lizzie said it, is corn syrup. It doesn't say high fructose, but that's pretty much what it is. And that's another one. So the lobbyists, what they did, because this is what happens. People get on YouTube, and people like me get on TikTok, and we start podcasts and we write books, and we tell people, hey, you got to watch out for high fructose corn syrup, which is basically poison that's killing you the more of it we eat. And again, speak of the devil, I'm talking about it right now. And what the lobbyists do is they go to the FDA and say, hey, can we stop calling it high fructose corn syrup? Why? Because now everybody's on the lookout. Hey, I can't eat high fructose corn syrup. So now, can we not call it that? Can we just call it corn syrup? Now on Skittles, and now it just says corn syrup. It used to say back in the day, because I've been eating Skittles for a long time, it used to say high fructose corn syrup. But then when that phrase started looking bad, they lobbied to change it to where we don't have to call it that anymore. Now it's just called corn syrup. This is the game that they're playing. Again, it may seem a small thing, but think about how many other things they're doing this and you don't even understand. Next one, hydrogenated palm kernel oil. Let's stop right there. Hydrogenated palm kernel oil. Let me ask you a question. What is that? What is hydrogenated palm kernel oil? Who knows? Hydrogenated palm kernel oil. All right, I got a comment. Grana Cat said seed oil. Yes. Now, seed oils. Here's the thing about seed oils. Most people don't know the dangers of seed oils. I would suggest you all, when you're done listening to me, go on YouTube and look up seed oils and just watch the videos. There are TED Talks on it. There are people giving speeches on it. There are people making YouTube videos about the dangers of seed oils. And I'm not going to try to explain it in detail. They can explain it better than me. But in general, just as a high level point, seed oils are basically chemicals. And what they did was they took what used to be waste products from certain oils, and they started using these waste products and making them into products that you eat. It used to be stuff they threw in the trash. Now they figured out, how do we actually make money off of this? Again, capitalistic society, one of the trade-offs is that people will do anything and use anything to make money as long as they can get away with it. This is one of the trade-offs of capitalism. I am not knocking capitalism. I'm a fan of capitalism, and we should not get rid of capitalism, but we got to watch ourselves for the scams that are being run because of capitalism. So be clear, be very clear. There's no such thing as a utopian society. And then everything after that is less than 2%. So the first three things I said: sugar, corn syrup, hydrogenated palm kernel oil. Those are the things that it's mostly. And when you look at the percentages, daily percentages, sugars, 90%. In other words, this one little pack of Skittles, that number there on the label, 90%, that means if I eat this one pack of Skittles, I have consumed 90% of the sugar that I need for the entire day just by eating this pack of Skittles. That's what that means. 90% of the sugar that I need for the day I got from this pack of Skittles. And this is not even real sugar. This is all, what are Skittles? Skittles don't exist in real life. This is all chemicals. That's all this is. And we're going to get into how they get people to actually want this stuff, because they got me, all right, obviously. All right. And you see that pack is not full. Right. I'm going to eat the rest of it when I get done with this. So anyway, not in a moment, maybe for lunch. The whole point is these ongoing scams when it comes to the labeling and how they slip things under your nose and you don't even realize that they're slipping under your nose. This is all part of the scam of the medical industry. They're slipping these things under your nose. They're changing the labels of stuff. HFCS, which is high fructose corn syrup. A lot of people have gotten hip to that game, and you know that that's some nonsense. So now they just changed it to just calling it corn syrup, because corn syrup sounds good, right? Corn is a good thing, right? Corn is a vegetable, right? Sometimes you eat corn for dinner. Sometimes you eat corn as part of your meal. So if they can call it corn syrup, that sounds like it's a good thing, but it's actually not. And this is the flipping of the script that they do to you. So now let's move on to what actually happens. And by the way, when you eat food, I'll tell you something that someone told me. She was a clean eating vegan like 10 years ago. She said to me, Dre, anytime you're eating food, if it has more than 5 ingredients on the label, you probably don't know what you're eating and you probably shouldn't eat it. That was a rule of thumb that she gave me that I still remember to this day. I don't always follow it, obviously. You see me eating a pack of Skittles. But anything that has more than 5 items on the ingredients list, or it has something on the ingredients that you cannot pronounce, or something that you cannot explain what it is, you probably should not eat it. All right. If all of you started following that, we have a much healthier society. If you can't pronounce an item on the label, don't eat it, because you're probably eating a chemical that you don't even know what it is, and you're putting it in your body. That's a chemical you're putting in your body. What is it going to do to you? You don't even know. All right. Some of you took that jab. What was in it? You don't even know. All right, but you took it anyway. And then you took another one and another one and another one. DJ Khaled voice. Like, you're taking all these things, don't even know what you're putting in your body. I heard somebody else say this last week, and it makes sense. And I'm keeping this at a level that any of you can understand, because, again, I'm not a chemist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. Anything that comes in a bag, a package, a box, or any kind of container, there's probably some chemicals in it. There's probably something unhealthy and unnatural in it. If it comes in a bag, box, or a container, it probably has some kind of chemicals in it. Think about that. All the stuff that is actually healthy for us, there's no bag, box, or container. So, for example, I have a banana here. This doesn't come in a bag, box, or container. This is just how it comes out. It grows out of the plant, and boom, there you got it. An apple grows out of the plant, you can just eat it. Water, I mean, you got to put water in the container so you can drink it, but the water itself does not come in a bag, box, or container. We put it in there, and you should probably go with a glass rather than plastic, by the way. This is a glass bottle. You get this on Amazon for $29. That's where I got mine. And you got to be careful with these things. Bag, box, or container, you probably shouldn't eat it. Read the ingredients. And if there's more than 5 ingredients, there's some nonsense in there. Meat. Any of you who eats meat. Does meat come in a bag, box, and container? Does a cow come in a bag? No. Now, when we go buy it from the store, yes. But the thing itself doesn't come that way. All right. These other things that come in these containers, that's because they're made up out of nowhere. Skittles is not a thing. All right. Skittles does not exist naturally in the universe. A Snickers bar does not naturally exist in the universe. That jab that you put in your body a couple years ago does not naturally exist in the universe, but you took 6 of them. I got a family member. She took the main one, then she took all the boosters, and then she got the virus anyway. And then she was sick for like 2 months. And then when I saw her, she said, well, it's a good thing I got the jab, because it would have been worse if I didn't get it. And I couldn't even say, it was like not even worth talking to this person, because they have already bought into the nonsense that I'm trying to help you all from buying into. All right, let's move on to point number 5. And I'm going to take questions and comments at the end. So here's what happened. Here's the result of all of this. I don't know some of you may not be from the United States, but those of you who are American, you're born and raised in the United States. If you have traveled the world outside of America, you can co-sign what I'm about to tell you. Somebody let me know if I got this right or wrong. I've been to 10, 15 different countries. I've never seen the same number per capita, and just by my personal observation, of obesity any other country in the world that we see in America. We have more obesity in America than anywhere else in the world. And that's probably statistically proven. I don't have the stats in front of me, but any of you who's been outside of the country, you've been to another country. Have you been to any country where you see as many obese people as you see in the United States? We have a obesity epidemic in the United States of America. We also have a sickness epidemic in the United States of America. I've been to countries in Europe. I've been to Central America. I've been to Canada. And I haven't been to Africa and I haven't been to Australia. But we have so much obesity here. It's crazy. I remember the first time I went outside the United States, I was playing basketball professionally, and my first contract was in 2005. I was in Lithuania. And the interesting thing, the first thing that I thought to myself was everybody is thin. Everybody's thin. The men are thin. The women are thin. I didn't see any obese people walking around. I saw like one obese person, the whole time I was there. And it was like some homeless woman begging for food. But I didn't see too many obese people. Even the men who were not in shape, they weren't like crazy out of shape. You didn't see anything like what we see here in America. Now, how is that possible when America is allegedly the richest company in the world, richest country in the world, the smartest country? We have all these advancements. We have capitalism. This is the land of opportunity. How is America? And this is the place that everybody wants to go, right? So if you're from a different country, you want to move out of your country, everybody wants to come to the United States of America. All of those things are generally true. How is it that we have all these people who are sick and obese and stuck in the medical system? How is that possible? I just told you how. Because the Food and Drug Administration, in cahoots with the government, and the Food and Drug Administration is part of the government, and in cahoots with the pharmaceutical industries, they put this nonsense, these chemicals in your body. Now, why do they do it? Well, I just told you that, because it makes them money. Now, how is it working? That's the question. How is this actually working? I've seen the people leave comments alluding to this. So let's talk about how it works. Here's the reason that it works. The people who make the food that comes in the packages and the boxes and the bags, like the chemical stuff, like these Skittles that I just showed you, these people, these chemists are really, really, really smart people. And I want to tell you all this. I say this all the time. Like, just because you disagree with what someone is doing does not mean you should discount their intelligence. You can disagree with someone and still say that they're really smart, because for a scam to work for as long as it's worked in the medical industry, such as the medical industry, the healthcare system, and the United States government, they had to be smart, because if they were stupid, you would have figured it out already. And it wouldn't be working anymore. Or we as a whole would have figured it out. We would have demanded that they stop doing it, and the medical system would, as we know, would completely collapse. But it's existed for as long as I've been alive, because they are really, really smart, and they know how to be a step ahead of everybody else. They are several steps ahead of the masses of people. That's why they're able to get away with this. So here's what I'm saying. The chemists who make food, and I'm being generous using that word, food like this, Skittles, these people are smart enough to understand, how do we get somebody like Dre hooked on Skittles? Here's how they get you hooked on Skittles. They chemically engineer this food in such a way that it is more addictive to you than a banana or an apple or an orange. They chemically engineer it that way. All right. How do we change the chemistry of this so that Dre likes the sugar in Skittles more than he likes the sugar in a banana? Because I just showed you, I got a banana right here on my desk, and I got a bunch more sitting there that I didn't even show you. I got all these bananas available. Look, let me show you. I got all these bananas, organic bananas from Whole Foods available, but yet I still went to the store and bought a pack of Skittles. Why is that? Because the engineer who made those Skittles is smart enough to understand that if we engineer the Skittles a certain way, Dre won't go for the banana, he'll reach for the Skittles. That's chemistry. That's a chemist who is smarter than me, at least when it comes to food science, who figured out how do we make him want this. There's the same thing when it comes to your kids' cereal. Any of you who's a parent and you're letting your kids eat cereal like Frosted Flakes, Cheerios, stop that. Stop doing that. All right, you are setting your kids up for failure. So in a tongue-in-cheek way, I'm going to blame my parents because they let me eat that shit when I was a kid. I ate Frosted Flakes. I ate Cheerios. I ate, what's the other ones? Raisin Bran. I ate Honey Smacks. Honey Smacks with the little frog on the front. Do they still sell that? They used to call those Sugar Smacks. Y'all know that Honey Smacks used to be called Sugar Smacks. Then they changed it to Honey Smacks because people got hip to the sugar game. But they didn't change what was in the cereal. It was the same thing. Frosted Flakes. That's probably my favorite cereal of all time is Frosted Flakes. Any of you eat Frosted Flakes? Frosted Flakes. You know what the frosting on Frosted Flakes is? Just sugar. It's just a whole bunch of sugar. They just took flakes, which was like Wheaties. Remember Michael Jordan? I better eat my Wheaties, those commercials. They took flakes and they just put a whole bunch of sugar on it called it Frosted Flakes. They gave you a funny little tiger, Tony the Tiger. You remember Tony the Tiger? They put a whole bunch of sugar on it and just start selling it as Frosted Flakes. And those things have been selling forever. All they did was put sugar on it. And I love Frosted Flakes. I haven't eaten that. I haven't eaten any of that stuff in over a decade. But if I had to eat some cereal right now and somebody said, Dre, which one you want? You got to eat some cereal. I'd probably go with Frosted Flakes or Raisin Bran or Cheerios or my other favorite, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. What is Cinnamon Toast Crunch? It ain't nothing but sugar. They just put a whole bunch of sugar on top of it. And then they put the three little chefs on there and they make it like this fun thing. And Cheerios is, what is it? Honey Nut Cheerios, not just any Cheerio. Honey Nut Cheerios. What's in Honey Nut Cheerios? Sugar. All of it is sugar. Raisin Bran. They put a little sugar on the flakes and they put sugar on the raisins. And that's why you like to eat it. That's why I like to eat it. This is my 4 favorite cereals of all time. Raisin Bran, sugar. Frosted Flakes, a ton of sugar. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, nothing but sugar. And Honey Nut Cheerios, sugar. All it is sugar. And there are books, and y'all should be reading these books. There's a book called Sugar, Salt, Fat. Y'all need to read those books. Anytime you hear me mention a book, go read them. Go on the TED Talks website and look up any talks on sugar. There are doctors and scientists who talk about this stuff all the time. And they talk about the sugar and how it's addicting. And Lifeguard 2301, I see you saying sugar is a form of stimulant. Yeah, and it gets us addicted. We get addicted to the sugar. I will admit I am addicted. I'm an addict. My name is Dre and I am an addict. I'm addicted to sugars. Now, I don't eat this kind of stuff all the time. I eat fruits. You saw I got the bananas here. I eat bananas. I eat apples. I eat mandarins, oranges, all that stuff. But I have an addiction to sugar that I developed in childhood because I was eating this stuff. And this is why I'm telling you, those of you who are parents, you have young kids, don't let your kids get on this stuff. I was talking about this on my Instagram story yesterday. My son is only 2 years old. He doesn't even, if I try to give him some Skittles, he would spit it out. He wouldn't eat it. And the reason is he hasn't had that kind of stuff yet. He hasn't been exposed to that nonsense. And therefore, he's not going to develop the addiction. And I think we can get him, my wife and I can get him like 8, 10 years old without taking in this bullshit. Then he probably will never develop the addiction that I have developed. And this is what happens when you get addicted to these things, because again, it's chemically engineered to get you addicted so that you could be 50 years old and still have an addiction that you developed when you were 8 years old. And this is all because the government allows it. The government allows this stuff. And many of you mentioned this yesterday, that there are other countries in the world that do not allow companies to sell the stuff that the United States allows to be sold. And the reason that happens is because in the United States, being that we are a strongly capitalistic society, that if you pay enough money, you can pretty much do whatever you want. That's the way the government works. That's the reason why, again, I told you the federal government, the educational system, and the healthcare system are all scams, because all they do is spend more money to push through whatever they want to push through. If you don't believe me, go ask somebody else who understands this stuff. They'll tell you. Don't take my word for it. The reason that the healthcare system is a scam is because people spend money to lobby the government to pass laws that allow them to sell you bullshit and put that bullshit in your body, get you addicted to the bullshit, and therefore you need it for the rest of your life, and therefore you can't get off of it. That's how it works. And we haven't even gotten into we didn't even start talking yet. I'm just talking about surface level stuff like eating Skittles. All right, let's go deeper. All right, let's go deeper into this. So the reason that we have the obesity epidemic that we have in the United States is because of this. All right, a lot of these foods become addictive and we just eat them. And this is Alyssa White. Good morning. Good to see you. And these are over on Instagram. So these are the reasons why we have obesity. This is the reason why. Any of you ever seen a kid? Let's talk about this too. Any of you ever seen you're at the mall or at the grocery store and you see some kid who's like 5 or 6 years old and the kid is already obese? Anytime I see that, I'm looking at the kid and I'm like, how the hell did this kid get that big that fast? Like, you are too young. Like, how is this kid obese already? Now, usually 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, if their parents are with them, the parents are the adult version of the kid. All right. They're obese just like the kid. And some people will say, well, maybe it's a genetic thing. It runs in the family. Okay. I'm going to challenge you on that one. All right. That's some bullshit. All right. It runs in the family. It's some bullshit. Now, are there some genetic mutations and genes that get passed down from one generation to the next that could technically make you more susceptible to a disease or a virus or something happening to you? Yes, the same way if your parents are tall, then you might be tall. I'm tall. My wife's relatively tall. My kid is taller than other kids who are even older than him. There's another couple who lives in my building. They're both relatively short. Their kid is like several months older than my son, but my kid is like twice his size. Yes, genetics, do that play a role? Yes. But diseases, as a general rule, folks, do not necessarily run in your family. What runs in the family is your lifestyle and your decisions and your choices. That's what runs in the family. So when you see a 6-year-old kid who is already fat, all right, they're not fat because of genetics. They're fat because they eat the same way their parents eat, and their parents are fat. That's how it happens. All right, that's not running in the family. The one thing they ain't doing is running. All right, I'm joking. I'm being tongue in cheek here, but the point is lifestyle runs in the family, ladies and gentlemen. That's how it works. Lifestyle runs in the family. Choices run in the family. How you eat runs in the family. The reason I'm addicted to sugar is because my mom liked eating that stuff. My dad liked eating that stuff. They liked Honey Nut Cheerios and Frosted Flakes and all that stuff. And because they liked it, they let their kids eat it. Now I'm addicted to the stuff. Now I made some different decisions than them. I work out every day. My parents don't do that. I made some different decisions because I got new information. Everyone understand? So for any of us, you ever hear people talking about breaking curses, breaking generational curses? Well, one of them is based on, you got to look at your parents as adults. Most of you, I'm assuming, are adults. You can appreciate your parents. You can love your parents. You can honor and respect your parents. You should do all of those things. At the same time, you can look back at how your parents raised you and assess some of the things that they did and ask yourself, okay, if I'm a parent now, or you're becoming a parent, would I do some of those same things? I would bet that none of you says 100% I would do every single thing that my parents did. You would probably take some things that they did and do it a little bit differently, maybe completely differently. And that is your responsibility. You're an adult now, so it's not your fault necessarily that you got addicted to Skittles and eating sugar like I did. And again, I'm using that as an example here to show y'all that I ain't perfect, but I could choose to stop eating Skittles if I want to. And I'm not blaming my parents for that. I'm giving you an example. So when people talk about things running in the family, there are some genetic things that could possibly make you more susceptible, but doesn't mean you're going to get the same thing just because your parents had it, because you could choose to not do what they do. You could choose to not follow their lifestyle. Now, I eat generally plant-based. My parents are not that. They weren't vegans or anything like that. They don't know anything about that. I remember when I first started doing it, I was at my parents' house and I was explaining to my dad, like, read the labels on these food. What is this? I start reading things off the label on some food he had because they had just went to the grocery store. And I picked up something he had and I started reading the label. I said, what is that you're eating? He laughed because he couldn't answer the question. He doesn't know. And it's the exact thing y'all need to be doing. Look at this stuff. All right. What is it that you're putting in your body? And when you took that shot, what'd you put in your body? When you gave your kids the V word, all the V's that they're supposed, quote unquote, supposed to get, what'd you put in your kid's body? Do you even know? What did you do to your kid? Do you know what you gave them? I ain't telling you that you're right or wrong for doing it. I'm just asking you the question. What did you put in your child when you took them to the doctor when they were 3 weeks old to get all of the quote unquote V's, I can't say the word, that they're supposed to get? Where do you think the concept that they're supposed to get it came from? If you've been listening to me so far, I think you understand. Where do you think that came from, that they're supposed to get those things? And again, let me be clear. I am not saying necessarily that every medicine or drug that you take is necessarily hurting you. I'm not saying that they're all terrible. What I'm saying is many of us have these concepts that we're supposed to do these things just because it's been taught to us and it's been indoctrinated into us without ever critically considering, does this actually make sense? And if it does make sense, why does it make sense? If you're taking your 3-year-old or 3-week-old to go get a bunch of shots at the doctor, can you explain what these shots are, what they do, and why it makes sense to do it? And you can't just go off what the doctor tells you. And let me tell you why you can't just go off what the doctor says. You can't just go off what the doctor says because doctors were taught that this is what they're supposed to do. So let me give you, let me tell you a quick story. So I told you my son's 2 years old. So when my son was born, we had a home birth. We did this on purpose. We planned a home birth. Home birth means you give birth to your kid at home instead of instead of at the hospital. We planned all this. So we had a doula who was like a emotional support, I guess you could say. And we had a midwife who's basically like the person who delivers the baby. And she has all the medical stuff and she just happens to do it in the house instead of bringing you to the hospital. You can bring a midwife to the hospital too, if you want. And the midwife brought an assistant. So that day it was my wife's the one giving birth. There's the midwife. She brought somebody else with her. So it was 2 of them and the doula. So it was these 4 women in the room all giving birth. My son comes out. He's fine. The midwife takes care of him. He's all good. but he had some, they call it meconium, which is when the baby poops inside of the womb. They're not supposed to poop till they get born, but he pooped inside of the womb. We just wanted to make sure he hadn't ingested any of the poop into his lungs. So we took him to the hospital. And the doctors and nurses, immediately the shenanigans begin. And they have a whole system in the hospital. Any of you works in a hospital, y'all know the shenanigans that the system runs. I'm not saying you personally do it, but if you work there, you work there. You got to do what they tell you to do. That's how it is when you have a job. So anyway, they come in. The low-level nurse comes in, and she's like, we're going to get you some this. I'm going to get you an IV. Says it to my wife. My wife's like, I want an IV. And she says, well, everybody gets an IV. So we'll get you an IV, okay? And then she just walks away. She didn't even wait for her to give an answer. We didn't take the IV, by the way. So that's the first level nurse. Then the second level nurse comes in, and she says, we're going to do these other things. Then she leaves. Then the third level nurse comes in and says, we're going to do these other things. Then she leaves. And now she's over here. They got my baby in the NICU. So I go up to NICU to check on what's happening with the baby. Now I got to deal with the levels of nurses again. This is all, I was very annoyed with this whole process because you talk to one nurse and they tell you one thing. I asked their questions because I didn't know they had levels of nurses. And they don't call it that, but this is how it works. This is how their system works. It just goes in waves. It's like the ocean. Waves just keep coming. So I asked the first nurse a question. She gave me some answers. I go to the second nurse comes up and I ask her a similar question and she gives me a different answer. And I'm like, wait a minute, the other nurse said this. And I quickly realized that each nurse has a higher level of authority than the previous nurse. So then I get finally to the highest level nurse and I'm asking her the questions. I'm like, every nurse that has come up here is giving me different answers and different information. And why does each one of you keep coming up and giving me different information? And she said, oh, well, what was the name of I forget the name of the person that she said, but basically the doctor, the head doctor, whoever that is, they're going to make the decision on whether we do this or this or this. And I'm like, all right, well, where's the head doctor? So the head doctor is like, they're like the queen bee. They come in and they basically go around to all what the nurses tell them and they make the final decision on everything that's happening. And I didn't like any of this. And I'm looking at this like, wait a minute. And this is what the nurse is telling me. Like the highest authority nurse says that the doctor is the physician. They're going to make the decision. I'm like, no, they're not. I'm going to make the decision, not the doctor. I don't give a damn who the doctor is. We can talk, but the decision is going to be made by me because I'm the parent. And the nurses are kind of not feeling me, not kind of. Let me take the word kind of out. They're not feeling me at all because I'm already in there telling them, like, y'all not going to tell me what's going to happen with my kid. I'm going to tell you. So I'm talking to these nurses. And finally, I realized I need to stop talking to them because they're just minions. I need to talk to the person who actually makes the calls here. And the person who makes the call is me. But I'm going to tell them this is how it's going to go. And this nurse, I remember this nurse. So this nurse, she's probably like 35, white woman. And I don't think she's had too many engagements with people like me, who look like me, who come from where I come from, and who talk the way that I talk. And she clearly wasn't feeling the fact that I was not going along with what she said she wanted to do. So she said, we're going to do this, this, and this. She named like 8 things she was going to do to my child who had just been born a couple hours ago. And I said, you're not doing any of those things. All these things she wanted to do. She wanted to do x-rays. And she wanted to do a MRI scan or something like that. By the way, x-rays are radiation, and you would not want to do radiation on a 30-year-old, let alone a 30-minute-old child, radiation into their bodies. And she wants to do all this stuff. She's naming all these things she wants to do. And I get the midwife on the phone. Now, the midwife is not with us. I got the midwife on the phone, and I got her on speakerphone. So she's hearing everything that the doctor is saying, and she's trying to be polite. And I'm saying to the midwife, like, what do you think about these things? And she said, yeah, you don't need to do all those things. Out of 11 things that the doctor wanted to do, you only need to do about 2 or 3. And this is what I'm trusting the midwife. I trust the midwife more than I trust this chick. And so we're having this conversation, whatever. And I finally tell the doctor, this is what we're going to do. And she's pushing back. She finally says something like this. Listen, sir, I'm a doctor. That's the first thing that she said. So this is the first point of bullshit right here. We call that the appeal to authority fallacy. All right. She said, I'm a doctor. That's the first thing she did wrong. And then she said, if we can't do these things that I want to do with your child, then I fear for your son's life. That's what she said right to my face with the midwife on speakerphone. Immediately, I smelled the bullshit. Immediately, I knew that she was trying to use fear. That's called the appeal to emotion fallacy. So she appealed to authority. I'm a doctor, which means I'm supposed to listen to everything that you say? No, not me. And then the appeal to emotion. Right? If we can't do this, then I think your son might not survive today. Also bullshit. Now, again, had this been 10 years ago, I might have gone along with it because it might have worked because I didn't know then what I know now. And I immediately smelled her bullshit and I started pushing back on everything that she was saying. And she got really upset to the point that some other nurses had to kind of pull her away because she was about to burst out in tears. And I just told the bitch, like, listen, I don't care if you're a doctor or not. I'm a parent. And the authority of a parent supersedes the authority of a doctor. And you're not going to tell me what we're going to do. I'm not in fear of my son's life. And if something does happen, I'll take responsibility for it. But you're not going to tell me what's going to happen. They end up calling security on me. I got security called on me in the hospital. And the doctor is telling me that, and also this is what the not holding her back like she was going to do something, but like pulling her away because she was obviously losing emotional control. And the midwife tells me that if they do ABC, like these 3 things, Dre, if you let them do those to your child, then the law states that your child must stay in the hospital for 10 days after that. They have to stay in the hospital for 10 days to be like monitored. So if you don't let them do that one, because if they do that one, they have to watch the kid for 10 days. And I said, no, we're leaving tonight. I said, we're not staying in here for 10 days. We're leaving tonight. And the doctor's pushing back and the nurses are telling me nobody brings a baby into the NICU and leaves the NICU the same day. That's what they said to me. NICU means neonatal intensive care unit, by the way. When I say NICU, that's what it means. They said nobody brings a baby into the NICU and leaves the same day. Everybody stays at least 10 days. I said, we not staying 10 fucking days. No fucking where. And again, 6'4", I'm 6'4" tall. I'm sitting down. Y'all can't. I'm 6'4", black guy, talking to them the way I'm talking to y'all right now in the middle of a hospital. Like, y'all understand this caused some concern. So security gets called. Security comes in. I'm talking to the security guard. Security guard is a very nice guy. And I'm telling him, like, look, they trying to tell me they're going to do this, that, and the third. I said, they're not doing any of this. He said, can we just step outside? The security guard, very nice guy. And I told him, okay, I'll step outside on one condition. They can't do anything. I don't want that doctor touching my child. And he said, okay, I will take care of that. Then we went outside. I talked to him, talked to the midwife. And then she says, okay, let them do 3 of the things on the list, but don't let them do the other 8. So I got the word back to them. I back and forth, all that. Now, mind you, they got us separated. And this is the way hospitals set up. They got my wife's over here on the 3rd floor. The baby's up here on the 4th floor. So I'm going back and forth. My wife doesn't know any of this because she's over there in her own room because she had bled a lot. So they're checking her for making sure she's all right. And she just gave birth. So she doesn't have the strength to do any of this stuff, which makes me think, speaking of such, a single mom giving birth to a child in the hospital, oh, they got you hook, line, and sinker. All right, how are you going to go advocate for your child while you're personally not in a good state? See, this is the hustle. If you're a single, I was talking to my wife about that, and I said this in an article that I wrote about this and the podcast episode I did on it. If you're a single mom, you have no one with you, you go into the hospital in labor, and as soon as you have the birth, as soon as the baby comes out, they take the baby away, right? They go take the baby over there, you over here. You just bled all that. You just did a 13-hour labor. They got you on all kinds of drugs. They're doing whatever they want to do to your baby, and there's nobody up there telling them that they can't do it. They do whatever the fuck they want to do. All right, this is the game. This is the game. This is what they do. And good thing I was there because I'm like, no, you're not doing any of that stuff to my child. And I could tell by the way they were reacting. It wasn't so much about me. It was about the fact that they are used to doing this stuff and having no pushback and nobody saying anything. Even if a man is there, because there was other men in there with their kids and they were kind of going along with whatever they wanted to do. I said, you're not doing any of that stuff. And I could tell they immediately were like, wait, who are you to tell us what we can't do to your child? It was like they were incredulous about the fact that I was not going along with what they were saying to do. So anyway, long story short, we ended up getting the kid out we came at night and then we left, like within less than 24 hours, we left. And it was a very interesting on several levels. Interesting to me, the way the system is set up. And by the way, if you've been in the hospital lately, or if you ever been into a courthouse, or you ever been inside an incarceration facility, hopefully to visit somebody, notice that they're all designed the same way. Schools, courthouses, jails, and hospitals are all designed the exact same way. Interesting thing I saw about the hospital that made me really not like it, and this is Jackson Hospital here in Miami, biggest hospital in Miami, is that when you're inside one of the sections of the hospital, like when I was in the neonatal intensive care unit and I wanted to leave, like I say, I just wanted to go outside. I just want to go outside and get some fresh air. Somebody has to push a button to let you leave. You can't just walk out. Somebody has to push a button to let you out. And when I went to the part where my wife was at to get out of there to go to where my kid was at, I had to walk up to the door and like see the security guard, and the security guard had to push a button to let me leave. I'm like, what the fuck is this, jail? I got to be allowed to leave the facility. What the hell is going on here? And hospitals are set up this way. I'm like, this is some bullshit. Like, y'all go to these places Y'all are sick. Y'all go to these places voluntarily. I don't fuck with hospitals at all. And I'm not telling y'all that you're wrong if you do. And if you happen to be a doctor or a nurse, it's not personal against you. But I don't fuck with hospitals at all, especially after that. Like, this is like a jail. Like, how I got to get your permission to leave the fucking hospital? It's like school. You know, at school, they got the security guard at the door. You got to get permission to leave school. Like, you're in jail. You can't just walk out of jail. All right, there's a corrections officer, but that's jail. All right, you're locked up. Like, I ain't locked up. This is a fucking hospital. What are you doing? But this is the way it's set up. I'm like, this is crazy. And somebody said it's like that because babies get taken. I get it. I understand why they do it, because maybe they got to protect a person who's in a compromised state from being taken. But at the same time, I'm like, yo, this is wild. I don't like it. So I don't like any of these systems. If you can't tell, I'm not a fan of any of these things. But let's continue back to my point, what I'm talking about here. So this obesity and sickness epidemic that we have in America, we have more sick people in America than we have anywhere else in the world. We got more obese people in America than anywhere else in the world, even though we're supposedly the most advanced nation in the world. Even if we got surpassed by another country, we're still in the top 5, right? So how do we have all these obese people and all these sick people? It's because of the system. The system is designed to keep you in it. Now let's continue. And just like, and the metaphor of that is being in a hospital and you got to get permission to leave. That's the metaphor of the medical system. You had to get permission to get out of it. Once they get you in, you are locked in until or unless they decide to let you leave. So let's go there so I can explain to you how this works. Nurses and doctors. I ain't saying every nurse and doctor. What I'm saying is the way the system is designed is that nurses and doctors are financially incentivized to prescribe interventions and drugs to you. This is how they hook you. Now, how does this work? Any of you ever been to medical school? Maybe some of you actually went to medical school, or you go to a college campus and they have a medical school on the campus. You notice how the medical school campuses are so beautiful? I've never seen an ugly medical school college campus. I've never seen one. They all look beautiful. They all got the pristine lawns and the trees and the beautiful buildings, and everything is all shiny and new. Now, here's my question. How do they afford that? How do medical schools afford to have such beautiful campuses? Any of you know the answer? Any of you know the answer as to how medical schools are so beautiful? It's not because of the tuition, by the way. It's not based on tuition money. That is not how those campuses look so good. It is because medical schools are financed by pharmaceutical companies. That's a fact. Look it up. It's not a fact. That's the truth. Medical schools in the United States of America are financed by pharmaceutical companies. In other words, the companies that sell you drugs pay the medical schools to have influence. They pay for influence. That's why they finance the schools. They're not financing it out of the kindness of their heart. It's not a charitable donation. It's lobbying. It's basically government lobbying through the schools. Now, why does that matter? Here's why it matters. Because the pharmaceutical industry funds the medical schools, and guess what else they fund? The pharmaceutical industries also fund the textbooks and the learnings that the medical students receive. In other words, when you go to medical school I don't know if nurses go to medical school, but wherever you go for nursing or being a doctor, the textbooks that you are reading from are financed by and approved of by and often written by the pharmaceutical industries whose drugs you will be prescribing when you get out of school and you get a job in the medical industry. Please, let me say that. Let me say what I just said one more time, because y'all really had to get this. Pharmaceutical companies write the textbooks that teach the doctors and nurses that you go see when you get sick. So what the hell do you think they're going to do when you get sick? They're going to prescribe the drugs that the textbooks that they learned from in school told them they're supposed to prescribe. They're going to make you do the stuff that the textbooks told them they're supposed to do. So here's the thing. This is why I said this is not personal against any doctors or nurses, because they're not on the scam. They just work there. They're not in on the scam. They're not in on the scam. What they are, because if you go to school, right? Let's say you go to medical school. How many years is medical school? Somebody give me, how many years does it take? How many years you got to go to school to get a medical degree, like to get a doctorate and actually do medicine? I'm not talking about a doctorate like doctors who teach history. I'm talking medical. You want to work in the medical industry, you get a doctorate and go do medicine. How many years? 8 years? Okay, 8. And some people said 12. So let's just say 8 years. All right, 8 years of school. If you go to school for 8 years and you have what, $400,000 in student loans to pay back, and now you go get a job in the medical industry, you tell me what you're going to do. Of course, you have a whole bunch of affiliation, for lack of a better term, to what you learned in school because you have 8 years invested. I have a 4-year degree. I'm not emotionally invested in what I learned in that 4-year degree. I knew while I was still in it that a lot of what I was being taught was bullshit, but I only invested 4 years and I have student loans. You 8 years and it costs a whole lot more than anybody else's. Of course, you're going to confirm that and validate it and affirm it through your actions. You understand? This is a system. This is why the system works. The healthcare system in America is a system, and the system is a good thing because it works over and over and over and over again, and it's hard to stop it. All right, this is why it's been working. This scam has been running for decades, longer than I've been alive, longer than all of us have been alive. And so the doctors and nurses, when that nurse came into the hospital room for my wife the night that she gave birth, the nurse said, we're going to give you an IV, which is the thing they stick in your arm with whatever that fluid is. Again, you don't even know what this stuff is. We're going to give you that. And my wife said, I don't want an IV. And the nurse said, well, we give everybody an IV. And then she just walked away. Again, she didn't even wait for a response. She just walked away. And then when another nurse came up, we told her we don't want the IV. And she said, all right. And that other nurse never came again. That low-level nurse, the one who just got out of college, she never showed up again. She never came back into the room. I don't know what happened to her. That's how I realized this is a whole system. So anyway, now why did she say we're going to give you an IV? Why did she say that? Because that's what she learned in school. That when someone comes in, first thing you do is give them an IV. All right, that's your job. All right, someone comes in, give them an IV, put it in their arm, walk away, check the boxes, you gave them an IV. She didn't think. She didn't ask any questions. She didn't get any information. She didn't say anything. She just said, we're going to give you an IV. I said, we want an IV. Everybody gets an IV. Walk away. That's what she did. She learned that in school. That's not her personally. So whoever that nurse is, if she's watching this, nothing personal against you. I get it. That's what you learned in school, and that's your job. They told you that's your job. You got to do your fucking job. And if you want to keep getting your check, do your job. Give everybody an IV. This is the system, folks. This is the way it works. And somebody said, Maha, make America healthy again. Yes, that's right. And these people are financially incentivized. What does that mean? Now, not all of them are incentivized. Not like that nurse. I don't think that nurse gets extra money if she gives a person an IV. What I mean is, let's say a doctor who runs they got their own practice. Or you run your own practice. And a pharmaceutical company, let's say Dre Pharmaceuticals, I call up you with your independent practice. And I say, hey, I got this drug. It does this. If someone has problem ABC, you sell them drug DEF. And I'll pay you more for every sale you make of this drug as opposed to all the other options that you have for your patients. Let me ask you a question. I'm not saying that any doctor is unscrupulous. I'm not suggesting that. But what I'm asking you is it true that human beings respond to incentives? Is that true? Of course it's true. So if I'm a doctor and you come see me because you're sick and I got 3 different drugs that I could give you. If I prescribe to you, all right, if I prescribe you drug number 1, my office makes $100. If I prescribe you drug number 2, my office makes $300. If I prescribe you drug number 3, my office makes $3,000. Which one am I going to give you? Each one of them can solve your problem. At least I believe they can. But those are the 3 drugs that I got. Which one am I going to give you? Or prescribe to you, excuse me, because you got to go to Walgreens and get the prescription filled. But which one am I going to give you? All right. I'm going to give you the one that's going to make me the most money. Again, I'm not saying that the drug is necessarily going to hurt you. What I'm saying is that's an incentive. All right. That's how the system generally works. I'm not saying every doctor does that. Let's be clear. All right. I'm saying that's how the system works. So prescription drugs, over-the-counter drugs, all of this stuff, there's a whole system for it, and it's all funded by the pharmaceutical industry. In case any of you didn't know, that jab that came out a few years ago, every jab that was given, they made money. Every jab that was given, they made money. All right. There's a reason why they were giving it out to you for free, but they made money. And every time you got the extras, the boosters, more money got made. All right. That wasn't some just giveaway. All right. It felt like a giveaway because you didn't pay for it, but actually you did pay for it because whatever was in that thing, who knows, that bill ain't come yet. The invoice ain't show up yet. All right. Be careful. All right. Understand what you're putting in your body. So now let's keep going because I could talk about each one of these all day, but let's move on. So let's say you get into the system. All right, let's give an example. Okay. Let's give an example. So let's say you get sick, right? You're sick and you're trying to wait it out, but you're still sick. So, and you're missing days at work, you're losing money. So you're like, all right, I'm gonna go to the doctor. So you go to the hospital, you go to the ER or whatever, you go see the doctor. Doctor prescribes you a drug. And let's say the drug helps. All right, drug helps you. You get a little bit more in shape or whatever, healthy. Maybe you can go back to work, et cetera, et cetera. or let's say it's so bad that you got to get some type of operation or some type of intervention, as they say. Here's the issue with operations and interventions. It works the exact same way as the drugs, is that every operation or intervention makes the hospital money. All right. So if you were to go to the doctor and you say, I'm sick, and they say, well, no, just go sleep it off and come back tomorrow, the hospital makes no money. If you go there and say, I'm sick, and the doctor says, go take this prescription drug, go get the prescription filled at Walgreens, the hospital makes this much money. If the doctor says, you say I'm sick, and the doctor says, well, we got to operate on you, they make this much money. All right. There is more money made the more stuff that they do to you. More interventions, more prescriptions equals more money for the hospital or for the doctor themselves. That is a truth of the way the medical industry works. This is one of the drawbacks of a capitalistic health system, is that the people who are supposedly helping you, they are incentivized financially to do more stuff to you rather than doing less stuff to you. So if you go in and you don't really need anything, and the doctor says you don't need anything, just leave, they make no money or no additional money than what you paid for the visit. But if they say you need this drug, they make this much money. If they say we got to operate on you, you make this much money. And if you go along with all of it, then they just keep making money off of you, i.e. your insurance, or out of your pocket. This is the way the system is set up. This is why many countries have, they have what do they call it, like public health care, to where it is not coming out of your pocket. Therefore, the doctors are not incentivized to put shit in you and on you. And therefore, you have some belief that they're running a more honest system. Here in America, we know it's not an honest system. And again, that doesn't mean every doctor is bad. It doesn't mean people are trying to hurt you. But when you give human beings incentives, they respond to the incentives. This is how it works. Give you another example. My knee was hurting like 3 years ago. My knee was bothering me. I work out every day. My knee was bothering me. It started to swell up a little bit. I go and find this guy who's allegedly, my wife found him actually. He's allegedly the best like osteopathic doctor in the city of Miami. He's the doctor for the Miami Heat. So I go see this guy. And actually, I didn't see him. First, I had to see his nurses, right? It's the same shit. So I had to go see it. First, I had to go get in. I go see him and they say, go get an MRI. So I'll go get an MRI. That shit was like $600. Then they say, go get x-rays. I might did the x-rays first. That was another $400. So it was $1,000 already. They got the x-rays. They got the MRI on my knee. Finally, I get to go see the big doctor at the top of the mountain, right? Now I got to go see first the nurse. They got me sitting in the room. First nurse comes in, asks me a couple questions. She leaves. Next nurse comes in. She asks me a couple more questions. She leaves. Finally, the big doctor comes in. We talked for literally like 6 minutes. I talked to this dude for 6 minutes. Half the time we're just talking about basketball because he's a basketball fan. Again, he works for the Miami Heat. He has jerseys up on the wall and all this stuff of these players he used to know back in the day. We talk. He says, here's what I think you should do. He says, first thing we're going to do is going to give you a cortisone shot. I don't remember if he said cortisol or cortisone, but either way, he said, we're going to give you this cortisone shot. It's going to destabilize your leg for 6 weeks or 8 weeks. Then after that, I'm going to send you to my guy who's a physical therapist and he'll get your leg back in shape. And I said, when you say destabilize, doctor, what exactly do you mean? He said, well, we're going to put you in it. You're basically going to be in a cast. So I was going to be on a cast and on crutches for 8 weeks after this shot of cortisone that I don't even know what that is. He was alleging he was going to put in my knee. And then after 8 weeks, I'm going to go see his guy, the physical therapist, right? Now I got to pay that guy. And I got to pay for this shot he's going to give me. I got to pay for the cast. I can't walk for 8 weeks. I can't run for 8 weeks. And the physical therapist, of course, he's going to get a kickback from the physical therapist. That was his plan for what to do with my knee. I said, this don't sound right. And guess how much it cost for me to talk to this guy for 6 minutes? Anybody guess? Guess how much the bill was? And again, I didn't do anything. All we did was just talk. I talked to his first nurse. I talked to his second nurse. And I talked to him for 6 minutes. How much was that visit to the hospital? Somebody give me a number. Throw a number up. I went there. I was there for about 45 minutes. They make you wait for 10 minutes, so it feels like they're important. You talk to the first nurse, then you talk to the second nurse, then you talk to him. 6 minutes. How much do you think the visit was? All right, y'all are going a little bit too high. It was about $450. $450 to talk to this guy for 6 minutes. Tyron Johnson was going on, my dude. $450 to talk to this guy for 6 minutes. I said, this don't sound right. This don't sound right. So here's what I did. I called my trainer. My trainer's a female. She was training me when I was playing ball. Now, at this point, she's not in Miami. Had she been in Miami, I would have called her first, but she wasn't in Miami. She didn't live in Miami anymore. So I called her and told her everything I just told you. And she starts saying, man, I hate the medical industry. And she started telling me some stories about stuff that happened to her, like back in the day before I even knew her. And she said, well, if I was in Miami, Dre, I would help you out. But I'm not in Miami. So look, call Brian. So she told me to call Brian, who's my guy. And I know Brian, but I had forgotten about him because I hadn't seen him in a while. I had even forgot to think of him. She said, call Brian. He could probably help you out. So I called this guy, Brian. Brian's a physical therapist. He lives in Miami. He's in Miami. I call Brian. I tell him everything I just told you. Brian says, come see me. Now, this is 2021. So this is at the time when people weren't really, this early 2021, people are still like putting the mask on their face and not gathering and stuff. So he's like, just come to my house. So I go to his house. I tell Brian everything again. He takes a look at my knee. He says, all right, I'm going to show you some exercises. And he showed me, Brian showed me 6 exercises. I was there for 1 hour. Okay. Brian showed me 6 exercises to do for my knee. And he said, do these exercises every day. After about 2 weeks, start doing them twice a day. And these exercises take literally like 15 minutes. He said, do these exercises every day for twice a day. I said, how long do I need to do these, Brian, before I can start running again? Because mind you, the issue was I couldn't run because the knee was bothering me. He said, do these for about 4 weeks and you'll be able to run again. I did the exercise for 4 weeks. And Brian charged me $150 for the visit. Actually, it was $100. I think his price went up since then. I've seen him since then. But it was $100 for the visit. I paid him $100. He showed me 6 exercises to take 15 minutes. It was 1 hour with this guy. I have not had a single knee issue since. As opposed to the doctor at the top of the mountain, the Miami Heat knee doctor, this guy said, shot in your leg, destabilize you for 8 weeks, put you in a cast, put some foreign agent in your body, first of all, destabilize you for 8 weeks. Then you're going to go see my physical therapist who's going to take another 4 weeks to get you back in shape. And then you'll be able to run again 3 months from now. That's what the medical industry does in a microcosm. That's a snapshot of how the medical industry works. The doctor visit was $450. The MRI was like $600. The X-ray was another $400 or $500. Not counting my time, it was like $2,000 that I put into all of that just to get a diagnosis that I didn't like. It didn't smell right to me. I go see my guy for $100 fucking dollars and solve the problem in 4 weeks. Now, I'm not saying that my personal experience is going to be your experience. I'm telling you that's a microcosm of how the system works. Now, what if I didn't know Brian? What if I didn't know Brian, the physical therapist? What if I didn't know him? What if I didn't know my trainer, Maria? What if I didn't know her and she didn't say, go see Brian? What if I hadn't thought of that? What if I didn't know anything and I was really scared and I was really worried about my knee and I just did everything that the doctor said? Would I have been running again? Probably. I probably would have ran again. I'm young, relatively young, healthy. I think I would have ran again. But here's the issue with the system. All right, what was that shot he was going to put in my body? I have no idea what that would do to me long term. No idea. Not being able to move, I'm on crutches for 8 weeks. How much is that worth for me? That has a cost too. It's not a dollar cost. That's a cost. I didn't have to do any of that when I went and saw my guy, Brian. This is the way the system works. And when you're in it, and now here's the thing. Let's say that wasn't my knee. Let's say it was something more serious, right? Let's say it was something more serious and I go and do what the doctor says because I don't know anybody else that can help me with the issue, or at least I don't think I know anyone else who can help me with the issue. And I decide to do everything that the doctor says. Now, once I get into the system, now I got to keep doing stuff. How many of you know someone who is on prescription drugs that they cannot get off? Any of you know anyone who fits that description? Any of you know someone who's on prescription drugs and they just got to keep taking the prescription drugs? Like they can't stop taking them, at least according to what the doctor or the system has told them. They just have to keep taking these drugs in order to stay alive. You stop taking the drugs, you're going to die. You stop taking the drugs, the virus or disease is going to come back. You stop taking the drugs, you're going to be in worse shape. How many of you know someone who's on a prescription drug they can't stop taking forever, at least according to what the doctor says? Okay, so a bunch of you know that, right? Okay, so here's the thing. Once they get you on that, now you're on the hook. See, now here's where the money comes in. Now they got you hooked financially. Now you got to keep paying for the drug. Who's going to pay for that? Either you got to pay out of your pocket, and those costs go up quick because pharmaceutical industries can basically charge whatever they want. And this is one thing that I would say with Kamala Harris. She's alluding to this in her campaign that she's trying to stop the pharmaceutical industry from doing stuff. The problem is she can't do that because let me talk about that, because Kamala has said a few things about how she's trying to cap the prices on drugs for the pharmaceutical industry. The problem is for her to do that, it has to go through Congress. And what I'll tell you about Congress, Congress gets paid by the pharmaceutical industry to not pass drugs that regulate their pricing. So this is the problem. It's not going to happen. And Kamala Harris is a lifelong politician. She's been paid by those lobbyists before she was VP. So she is not going to be able to do that. It sounds good, but it's never going to happen. And you notice Donald Trump ain't saying nothing about this either. Why? Because Donald Trump understands. He understands the game. This game ain't changing. All right, this is the part that I want y'all to get. This game ain't changing. So some people have left comments while I'm talking here. What do we do to fix this? You ain't fixing this. This ain't getting fixed, ladies and gentlemen. I'm helping you understand what's happening so you can opt out of the game, not so you can end the game. The game is not ending. I'm just telling you how to get out of it so you don't become a victim of the game. All right, you ain't changing this game. There's too many people involved. There's too much money involved. And you go try to change this game. All right, you're going to find out. You're going to find out real quick. What they call it, fuck around and find out. Yeah, you try to go against the pharmaceutical industry. All right, every president has tried. Obama tried. Bush tried. Clinton tried. Trump tried. Biden tried. Ain't none of them succeeded. All right, fuck around and find out. All right, you are not changing this industry. What I'm telling you is get out of the game so you don't have to become a victim of it. So anyway, the industry gets you hooked on something. A bunch of you said you know a bunch of people who are on drugs that they can't get off, right? When you're on a drug that you can't get off, first of all, you got to keep paying for that drug. Either it's coming out of your own pocket and those costs can go up, or your insurance has to pay for it. And therefore, you got to either keep paying your insurance or you're on government insurance. But either way, you got to keep using that drug. And if you stop using the drug allegedly, then your symptoms will come back and things will get worse. So now you are hooked into the system for the rest of your fucking life. That's how the system works. I told you it was a system. And guess what? They keep making money. Every time you fill that prescription again, they make money. Every time you got to show up to the doctor again for a visit, they make money. This is the medical system. This is how it works. So any of you didn't know, now you know. You are stuck on these drugs. You're stuck on these interventions. And guess how you got on the drugs and the interventions? And some of you may not think about this. If you know someone who's on a drug that they can't get off, guess how you got on the drug and on the intervention in the first place? Because it's something that they did to you in the first place. Now you need them based on something that they did that made you need them. So the doctor does an operation that you didn't need. Now, because of that operation that you didn't need, because they sold you on it and they feared you into getting it, now you need a drug to work to ameliorate the effects of that operation. Now you got to take that drug for the rest of your life. And now you can't get out of the system. Now you're stuck. Now they got you. Now you're hooked. Now you're hooked on the drug. How many of you know anybody who's hooked on prescription drugs? Does that happen? Of course it happens. Any of you know someone who got hooked on a drug, a prescription drug, after taking some type of intervention or operation that they, if you knew then what you know now, they probably didn't even need? Any of you know someone who fits that description? Any of you fit that description? All right, that's how it works. This is how it works. They get you on something that you don't need in the first place because of your fear. They use your fear against you to let them do something to you that you didn't actually need. If you had better information, you wouldn't even do it. Then after they do it, now you need them because you got to keep going back to get that thing checked on, or you got to keep going back to the Walgreens to get that prescription filled. And now you're hooked for the rest of your damn life on whatever it is that they got you on. This is how a system works, ladies and gentlemen. They get you in and you cannot leave. Y'all see a Bronx Tale? What Sonny said, now yous can't leave. All right, that's how it works. Now yous can't leave. They get you locked in and you ain't getting out. Y'all saw that movie, right? The Bronx Tale, where the bikers come in, they're talking rude to the bartender, and Sonny is talking to them, and they are nice, and then they start being rude again. And then he locks the door of the bar. He says, now yous can't leave. And then they beat him up. All right, that's you. All right, you can't leave. That's what they're doing to you. You can't leave. That's how they get you locked in. So this is the entire medical system. This becomes an ongoing cycle of hospital visits, prescriptions, drugs that you can't afford, trashy food. That's all you can afford. So let's go back to the food. Let's go back to the basic level, the level that all of you understand. Hopefully none of you is in and out of the hospital, but everybody here eats, right? Everybody here eats food. All right, how many of you grow your own food and cook your own food that you grew from scratch? Most of you, the answer is no, you don't do that. So the foods that you're taking in, the trashy food, notice another thing. You notice that the trashy food is cheaper and more affordable than the good food. And if you ever go find food that is literally organic, like really, really organic, truly organic food, grown out of the dirt and truly organic, no pesticides, no bullshit, how much does that food cost compared to the trashy shit you could buy down at the local grocery store? Notice that the good stuff costs more money. And see, this is the system, everybody. The cheapest, The worst stuff that you can put in your body is the easiest to access and is the cheapest to buy. The worst stuff you can put in your body is the easiest to access and is the cheapest to buy. This is how the system hooks us, because they know that not everybody has money. And if you can't afford to pay for the quality stuff, guess what you pay for? The cheap shit. And the cheap shit has all the chemicals in it, all the genetically modified stuff in it, all the stuff that gets you hooked based on chemicals, not based on quality whole foods. And here's the funny part. Once they get you as a child on this stuff, you develop this addiction to it. Again, me eating Skittles still, you develop this addiction to it. It's not like I eat it all day, every day, but I still like it because they got you in early. The cheapest stuff is usually the most garbage stuff. And the stuff that's actually true quality costs more money. Y'all heard the saying, you get what you pay for. All right. Do you believe it? You get what you pay for. Cheap shit is cheap for a reason. Expensive stuff is expensive for a reason. That doesn't mean everything that's expensive is actually good. Sometimes they can trick you. It doesn't mean everything that's cheap is actually great. All right. Sometimes, actually terrible. Sometimes they can trick you. But generally, as a general rule, that's what it is. What costs more? An organic meal from an organic restaurant or a McDonald's extra value meal? Do they even call it that anymore? Did y'all see the movie Super Size Me? You know why McDonald's stopped calling their meals Super Size? Y'all know why? Any of y'all know that story? So this guy named Morgan Spurlock, he just died maybe a year or two ago. I think he had some form of cancer. I think he had cancer. He had something. But he made this documentary called Super Size Me many years ago. It's probably 15 years ago, maybe close to 20 years ago. And what he decided that he was going to do was he was going to eat only McDonald's for 30 straight days. Only McDonald's, like every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, just McDonald's. And of course, before he does this, he gets his blood work done at the doctor and his blood work looks normal. And then during the course of the 30 days, all he does is eat McDonald's every day. He documents this whole thing. And then he goes and gets his blood work done in the middle. He gets his blood work done at the end. And cancer, Tara, I think that's right. And anyway, his blood work gets worse, of course, he's eating McDonald's. And when he goes and eats the meals, often they will ask him, and McDonald's is a great marketing tool when they came up with it, was supersize the meal. So let me get a cheeseburger extra value meal. And then the register person would say, would you like to supersize it? That means you get supersized fries and a supersized soda. So he would supersize his meals and eat all the food and stuff. And he called the documentary Super Size Me. And over the course of the documentary, of course, he feels like shit because he's eating only McDonald's. He gains a bunch of weight. He's looking fat and terrible. And his blood work is terrible. And there was this one experiment that really made McDonald's look bad. He took a box of McDonald's fries and he put it on the counter in his kitchen and he just left it there. He didn't touch it. He just left it there for the whole 30 days. And after 30 days, I know what happened to the fries. Any of you know what happened? If you saw the documentary or you want to guess what happened to the fries? Again, this guy took a box of McDonald's fries, which smell so good and even taste good, and he put them on the counter in his kitchen. He just left them there for 30 days. Did anybody know what happened to the fries? Yeah, a bunch of you saw the documentary. Nothing happened. They were just sitting there. Nothing happened. No ants, no roaches, no decomposition. Because if you leave a potato out for 30 days, it's going to mold, it's going to be ants, it's going to be flies. Why? Because it's fucking food. There's nothing. So, right, it was Halloween yesterday, right? I take my son on a walk every day. And we walk past this sales gallery for this condo. And they have pumpkins sitting outside. And one of the pumpkins is rotting. It's like a rotting pumpkin. And yesterday, it keeps rotting more and more every day. And yesterday, the rotting pumpkin had all these flies around it because a pumpkin is real food. And the real food, when it decomposes and it gets old, flies come around it because flies want to eat the food. No flies came to the McDonald's fries. And here's why. Because there ain't no potatoes in those fries, folks. And I know you like McDonald's fries. Ain't no potatoes in those fries. Wake up. Yeah, cheese. Ain't no cheese. Ain't no milk in that cheese. Y'all better wake up. Y'all better wake up. Listen, go read these books, folks. Any of you who's read books on this health stuff, please post the names of the books in the comments because there's a ton of them. But y'all got to look this stuff up. And go listen to the Joe Rogan show when he has people who talk about this stuff on the show. There's an episode that I'm actually about to listen to. I haven't listened to it yet. I'm going to tell you this woman's name because I need to listen to this. Her name is Casey Means and Callie Means. They're a couple. Casey Means, Casey Means, Means, and she's a doctor. And she has a book. I believe the book is called Eat Clean. Let me see if I can find the description of the book. I believe the book is called Eat Clean. And because I heard her on the Megyn Kelly show, I don't see the description of the episode, but whatever it is, I believe it's called Eat Clean. Let me find it. No, Good Energy. The book is called Good Energy. So it's a book called Good Energy. Her name is Casey Means. Go get that book and read it. I haven't even read the book yet, but I'm going to listen to this interview on Rogan and I will read the book. I have the book. I haven't read it yet. But so any of you who is watching, please go read those books. Y'all got to read these books about health, and there are tons of them, but y'all got to be informed about what's happening. Do not take the word of the medical industry. As I already told you, they are incentivized to bullshit you. And because this is all based on the capitalistic system that we have. Capitalism is not a bad thing, but there are trade-offs to capitalism, which is that people will chase money and they will do things to get money that they otherwise would not do. And when you call these people out, some people will call you a conspiracy theorist. All right, they're probably doctors and nurses who don't like what I'm saying right now, saying I'm floating conspiracy theories. So, okay. Actually, when I hear somebody call something a conspiracy theory, I'll listen even closer, especially if the person labeling the conspiracy is working for the government. I want to hear the conspiracy. I want that conspiracy. Those conspiracies I like. All right, so do not trust the federal government. Okay, that's the bottom line of all of this. All right, no matter who you're voting for in this election coming up, all right, they can't change this. They all tried. Kamala Harris has been in politics. Trump was already president. Neither one of them fixed it. They ain't fixing it. It ain't changing, folks. Y'all got it? Everybody got this? Okay, so let me recap everything I said here real quick, and then we'll answer questions. So I'm telling you why healthcare is a scam. All right, first of all, what is a scam? It is a fraudulent business scheme. The healthcare system is a business, and it is a scheme, and it is fraudulent, and I just told you why. Number one, it's all about ongoing ramping up of needs from the system. The Federal Food and Drug Administration, half their money comes from the pharmaceutical industry, which is a conflict of interest. Nobody in the government has been able to stop this. Trump said he was going to drain the swamp. He couldn't even drain the swamp. There's too many alligators in the swamp. You can't drain it. Number four, multiple ongoing scams, labeling and naming of foods. When they call something fat-free or organic, is not fat-free and is not organic. Again, this is documented, folks. They can do this. Number five, obesity and sickness epidemic due to the garbage diet promoted in America. There are more obese people in America than anywhere in the world, even though we're supposed to be so advanced. Why is that? Because of the garbage that we eat. And you have a choice of what you put in your mouth. Number six, pause. Number six, sickness and complications lead to hospitalizations, operations, and medication. The garbage that you eat puts you in a compromised position to where you need the medical industry, and then they hook you on pharmaceuticals and operations that you don't need simply because you got hooked in by the garbage. Number seven, nurses and doctors are incentivized to prescribe interventions and drugs. It was taught to them in school, and they are financially incentivized to prescribe you things because they make money every time you fill that prescription. Number eight, financial hardships from paying for all these things that you often don't need. So people end up being hooked into the medical system because you're on insurance and you got medical bills that you can't pay, and now you're locked into the system. They own you. Number eight, you are stuck with these drugs and interventions because of the problems that the drugs and interventions cause in the first place. So the problem is the problem. The solution is the problem, and you can't solve it because you got hooked into the cycle. Number 10, ongoing cycle of hospital visits, prescriptions, things that you can't afford, trashy food. That's all you can afford because it's cheap and you ain't got any money, remember, because you got all those medical bills. And if you call people out, they call you a conspiracy theorist. This is the system. It's a beautiful system. And when I say a beautiful system, doesn't mean I agree with it. I mean, it works. It's an excellent system, what the medical industry has set up. This is a beautiful system. Very well done. And it's also a scam. Everybody got that? Scams can be very well organized when smart people put them together. And these people are no dummies. So even if you hate the medical system, don't call them dumb. These people are very, very smart. They've had a successful scam running for decades. You can't call people stupid. They're successfully scamming people for decades. It can't be dumb. And everybody who they gotten can't be dumb either. It's just people don't know what they don't know. So let me take questions and comments, and then we'll wrap this up. We'll go about 15 more minutes and we're done. So how do you find the bills that the government passes on the government's websites? Any .gov. If you just look up the name of any bill, for example, let me just do this to give y'all an example. So that border bill that Vice President Harris. So let's look up the border bill. Border bill 2024. I just looked this up on Google, right? Border bill 2024. And let's see if I can find it. So it's right here. Congress.gov. Somebody put that in the comments, please. Congress.gov is where you see all the bills that Congress passes, because every bill goes through Congress first. Then they give it to the president, and the president can either say yes by signing the bill, or the president can say no by vetoing the bill. And some of you are like, that's elementary, Dre, but most people don't know that, believe it or not. So go to congress.gov. That's where you can see the bill. So here it is. S.4361 Border Act of 2024. Okay, this is right on the website. And reminder, everybody, the government works for you. You do not work for them. They work for us. They are our employees. The money that the government takes from you goes in their pockets. They work for you. Don't ever let politicians talk to you like you work for them. All right. They are not bosses. They're workers. They work for us. So anyway, when you look at this bill, and I'm going to show you, this is the border bill that Kamala Harris keeps talking about. We tried to pass a border bill and Donald Trump knocked it down. You want to read the text of this border bill. You can click on it and say text. No, let me find I want the full text of this border bill. So they give you a little, what's the word? I want the PDF. Because I want y'all to see how long this thing is. So let's see. S.4361 is the name of the bill. And it gives you a little description. And then it gives you all the details of the bill. And there's a ton of details in this bill. And when I scroll down this page, look, I'm just scrolling down the page of the bill. This is the border bill. Look at how much I'm scrolling. And look at all this text. This is the border bill, ladies and gentlemen. This is the border bill that's supposed to be so simple as to protect the border. All right. And I'm using this just as an example. I'm still scrolling. All right. How many of you will read all this? I'm still scrolling. I'm still scrolling. All right. Now I'm finally at the bottom of the border bill. All right. That's the bill. That's the border bill. And I'm scrolling as fast as I possibly can. I want to find the PDF because I remember looking at this and seeing how many pages it was. So I'm going to hide the overview. I just want I'm trying to find the PDF. Oh, here's the PDF. Here's the PDF for the border bill, ladies and gentlemen. You ready? 292 pages. No photos. These are the bills that the government passes under your nose. 292 pages of text. These are the bills that they pass. So if the border bill was just about protecting the border, why do they need 300 pages? You tell me. This is what your government is doing. Your government. All right. These are people you voted for or didn't vote for. This is what they're doing. And see, when someone like me comes out saying this kind of stuff, again, I'm a conspiracy theorist for saying this stuff. All right. This is how it works. All right. So let's see what we got on Instagram. Then we'll go over to TikTok and then we'll wrap this up. So Lifeguard 2301. Good morning. Good to see you here. Tara Murney was good. Good to see you. Tori Bowden. I don't know if Tori is in here. Tori said, what kind of doctor are you? When I first started, this comment got posted. What kind of doctor am I? I'm not a doctor at all. I'm a doctor of logical thinking and critical thinking, Tori, to answer your question. If you're even in here to hear me say that. But that's the kind of doctor that I am. And again, these things that I'm explaining here today do not require any level of doctor knowledge or medical knowledge. This is just logical thinking. Reed says, what steps do we need to take to change the narrative? So I answered that one. First of all, this is not a narrative. This is reality. And you aren't changing it. You just need to stay out of the game. Lifeguard says, rule of thumb, healthier, cleaner foods are found on the perimeter of the grocery store. Yes, I should have said that. That's a good point. So when you go to the grocery store, everybody, the best stuff is on the outside of the store. So you just walk around it like a square. The produce, notice that the produce and the fruits are usually on the side. And then the meats, the poultry is also on the side. All the stuff in the middle, those are the packaged goods. And that's all the chemicals. So next time you go to the grocery store, just walk around the outside of the store. Don't go in the middle aisles. The middle aisles is all the nonsense. That's all the chemicals. All the stuff to get you hooked for the rest of your life, that's in the middle of the store. Sugar is a stimulant. We are addicted to stimulants. Exactly. And they are engineered to be more addictive. Alyssa White, what's going on? Good morning again. Over on YouTube, let's see. All right, so I'll answer the question about the bills. B18 Turner said, this is why a private healthcare market never works, single payer all the way. Yeah, private healthcare market, well, it depends on what side you're on. It's working for them. It's working for them. It ain't working for us, but it's working for them. He said there should never be competition for basic human necessities. Yes, that's an argument. The challenges in capitalistic society, I don't think is going to get removed. I don't think it's going to happen. 292 pages for that bill. That's right. O-Dog said, people like you need to run for office. Well, see, Donald Trump ran for office on the premise of similar things to what I'm saying. He said he was going to drain the swamp. You remember that? Drain the swamp? You notice that in this election cycle, he ain't talking about draining the swamp anymore because he realized there's too many alligators in the swamp. He can't drain it. That's the problem. You can't drain a swamp that has so many alligators in it. He can't drain that swamp. It's not happening. It's impossible. That's why he ain't talking about it no more. He realized, okay, let me campaign on something else. The swamp ain't getting drained, folks. There's too much money involved in the swamp. You start affecting people's money, they'll come for your head. And Donald Trump, case in point. Now, you start coming for people's money, they will come for your head. They're not just going to argue against you and make ads about you. They will come for you as a person. So O-Dog said there's no healthcare in the United States, just disease management. That's a good point. O-Dog says sugar isn't bad. Your inability to metabolize sugar is the problem. Fair enough. Fair enough. Reed said more facts, lack of knowledge, marketing, and price point all play a role in our unhealthy lifestyles. That's correct. There's a reason why these foods are readily available over the healthy options. Also correct. Also correct. I agree with all that. Arvin, what's going on? Good morning. Good morning to you. Good to see you. Swag Porter, what's going on? Good to see you. Just from Brooklyn, what's going on? Good to see you. Yeah, Big Pharma. Yes, that's what they call it, Big Pharma. Reed says the use, prescription of certain drugs and or procedures financially incentivized. Absolutely. You just finding that out? Of course it is. Absolutely. Pharmaceutical industry is big business. Y'all notice that on TV. Next time you're watching TV or even YouTube or any company, anywhere that there are ads, you'll notice that most of the ads are pharmaceutical ads. Just pay attention. Next time you're watching YouTube and you got to watch all those ads because you're watching something, notice how most of the ads you see are pharmaceutical ads. Ads cost money. Where are they getting all that money to run all those ads? Because they're selling you stuff. All right, that's how they get their money. Pharmaceutical companies spend more money advertising on, let's say ESPN gets most of their advertising dollars from pharmaceutical companies. That's also true. And this is why when Kyrie Irving, the basketball player, wouldn't take that jab, while the people on ESPN were trashing him so hard, because their bosses, was the pharmaceutical industry, told him to. Yes, Tara, sinister shit. You're right about that. New Zealand, yes, example. And you know that the United States is the only country in the world where you're allowed to advertise pharmaceutical drugs. Did y'all know that? It's one other country where you can do it, but it's very limited. America is the only country in the world where pharmaceutical companies can run ads to sell you drugs. No other country in the world can you run ads to sell drugs to people. Only in America. And why is that? Because of money. Capitalistic society. Tara said, too bad you didn't see him first. Technically, yes, Tara, but you know what I got out of it? I got a good story out of it. So I'm glad I saw him because I got this story. Because if that didn't happen, it would give less credibility to my points. Reed said, professional courtesy is also part of the system. Doctors may not go against the prescriptions of other doctors. Okay, I didn't know that, but that makes sense. So Tara says, all about education. Yeah, exactly. Tara said, I do been for years. $1 for a large soda, $6 for a good water. Yeah, exactly. Levy M95 says something's not true. What are you referring to? Tara said, disgusting. Same with cheese slices. Yes. That cheese that y'all buy that comes in a little individual slices, that is not real cheese. Ain't no real cheese in there. Medical Medium is a book that Tara mentioned. All right, get that one. I never heard of that one, but that's good. It's actually referred to as a conspiracy documentary. Oh, wow. And I want to, the reason I brought up Super Size Me by Morgan Spurlock is that after that documentary came out, because it was so popular, McDonald's stopped selling Super Size. You notice that you go to McDonald's these days, there's no such thing as a Super Size meal. They stopped using that term because it was associated with that documentary. So now at McDonald's, I don't know what they call it now. And I don't want to know what they call it because I don't eat at McDonald's. And neither should you. But I think they call it maybe value size or just large or whatever they call it. They stopped using the term super size. The super size was a great marketing term until he killed it. Morgan killed it by making that documentary. And they know you're not likely to read 200. Exactly. That's the whole point. That's why they do it like that. They make the bills super long and hard to understand so that you don't know what's going on. Sometimes it's better to state facts in the form of questions. I agree with that. Mr. D. Marr, good morning, sir. Reed, I appreciate you. All right, let's see what we got over on TikTok. I saw someone say I'm a breath of fresh air. Thank you. I agree. All right, food is medicine, said Dr. Addy. I agree when you're taking it the right way, the right foods, that's right. Medicine eats your system up. Jessica White, yes, I agree with that too. PG4725 said, same thing happened to me, and the trainer at the gym showed me some exercises, pain gone. Exactly. Dr. Addy said, this guy is a talented yapper. He will do well on TikTok. You talking about me? Thank you. I am a talented yapper. I don't know if that's a compliment or a criticism, but I'll take it. Miss Brown said, the truth is the truth. I didn't realize why you can't turn for a freaking drug rep in the way. Yeah, exactly. That's the game. There's a lot of money to be made. So I understand. Pharmaceutical sales is a great business to be in. Any of you looking for an industry to get Get into the pharmaceutical industry. There's a ton of money to be made. Now, you can make a lot of money in pharmaceuticals. Dr. Addy said, need to learn from him. Are you talking about me? Hopefully you are. Thank you. G said that cortisone shot will wreck the tissue. Yes, I figured such. I didn't know the detail of it, but it just didn't sound right to me. He was going to make you worse off. I agree. That's why I didn't do it. So GG, you are correct. It just didn't sound right. Like 8 weeks, my knee ain't that bad, dude. Like I don't have a torn ACL. It's just swole up because I was working out a lot. But 8 weeks and being on crutches, I was like, that don't sound right, doctor. But I know what I know now. So that's why I was skeptical of his advice. As mom said, I had a cortisone shot in she didn't finish her sentence. So a bunch of people who've been on medicines for their entire lives. Tara, I appreciate you. Yeah, I got an appointment at 10:30, so I got to hurry up too. Someone says your name right. All right, glad I got it. Akara Bo said, my dad had eczema and had stroke, so he also sick every single day. Yeah, and it depends on what he does as a response of it. Yeah, that's how it is. Oh, AZ Mom said my knee wasn't destabilized. Okay, well, that's what he told me. That's what he said to me. So it doesn't matter because I didn't do it. So it's fine. About to be cancer treatment plan. Okay, understood. Actually, the goal is to get patients off. Yeah, that's the goal. Allegedly, the goal is to get patients off. The goal of the medical system, the stated goal of the medical system is we want to help you so that you don't need us anymore. But the way the system works is that they help you so that you need them forever. That's the way the system works. Now, is that the actual goal? As someone who's an actual doctor, so Dr. Addy, assuming you're a doctor, I'm assuming your goal is to help your patients to the point that they never need to come see you ever again. But the system works in a way that they need to keep coming back over and over and over again. That's the way the system works. Now, you personally, I would take you at your word. But the system itself, that's what it does. Someone said medical field is a scam big time. Absolutely. Of course it's a scam. Dr. Addy said they can't change their lifestyle. They can't come off. That's right. So the medical system plays on human nature. And human beings tend to just keep doing the same stuff over and over again. So since they can't change their lifestyles, they end up stuck in these cycles. So I'm 100% with you on that. Remy said, I'm a functional medicine provider and I help a lot of people get off medicine. Yeah, because you're not doing what the system tells you to do. You're doing what you know to be right. So I would assume that's why that is, Remy. Love the ASMR said, ref doctors keep you on for as long as they can. If it worked, you wouldn't need it every month. That's exactly. The system does that. The doctors just do what the system tells them to do. So again, I'm not knocking any doctors. They do what the system tells them to do. They're not doing it because they are trying to deceive you personally. Granted said, if you get off, then you may suffer from withdrawal. That's another thing that keeps people on drugs. Yes, they may suffer from withdrawal and they don't want the withdrawal, so they stay on it. Brandon says, got to get the underlying cause, but the drug side effects make it harder to get off. Exactly. So y'all both saying the same thing. Correct. Change your nutrition. Yes. Easier said than done, Dr. Addy. True or not? Easier said than done. You're right about that. But how easily do people change their nutrition? Brandon said exactly. You can't win, so don't play. Yes. My suggestion to all of you is don't try to change the medical industry. You are affecting people's livelihoods and their monies, and they will kill you before they let you change the industry. Again, see Donald Trump. He said, drain the swamp in 2016. Notice he has never used that phrase since. Why? Because he ain't draining the swamp. That swamp ain't draining. There are too many alligators. Doctor says, y'all know we make money on TikTok, right? Who are you talking? Who's we? Echo said, when I was 28, they wanted to take my thyroid out, but because of goiters, which would have been a lifetime pill. Yes, I've heard of that. I think my wife had a similar issue that they wanted to remove the thyroid, and she was like, nah, that don't sound right. Holistic healing is going to change at the end of a cycle. Maybe. There's going to be a lot of pain. If it changes, it's going to be a lot of pain for a lot of people. It's a lot of money being made in the pharmaceutical industry. So if it changes, we'll see. But there's going to be a lot of pain in that process. Harrison Bennett, BlackRock and Vanguard, who owned invested. I thought you said invested. She makes millions. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that, Crystal. Jessica said, do you think cancer is really cancer? I can't answer that question. And the prescribing are getting kickbacks. Yes, they are. Yes, the doctors who prescribe, for those of you who don't know, when a doctor prescribes drugs to you, they get paid when you fill that prescription. That is how the system works. So why would you go to a doctor who's getting paid to give you a drug when they might be able to tell you you don't need a drug, but they're more likely to tell you to get a drug because they're being financially incentivized? Human beings respond to incentives. That's just how it works. If you give people an incentive, they will probably do things to get that incentive. I'm 44 now, hit my thyroid on my own through research. Well, see, most people are too lazy to do that. Echoes 9711. Congrats to you. But most people are too lazy to do the research. So they just do what the doctor tells them to do. Insurance in general is a scam. I would agree with that. Yes. And there's a lot of money being made in insurance. Again, this is why you try to go after the insurance industry. They'll go after you. This is how it works. This is how it works. That's the problem with these systems, that they're so entrenched and there's so much money being made that people will fight to keep them. The meds have side effects. You need more meds. That's correct. Addie said, find a doctor you trust. Yeah. How do you do that, Dr. Addie? I'm assuming you make content. You should be making content. If you're not already, make content to help people figure out how to trust a doctor. I don't trust the medical system at all, especially someone who works in the system. I will trust an independent doctor who's not part of the system. But if they're part of the system, I'm not fucking with them on any level. So if there's a doctor waiting to join, you're live. Well, they're going to keep waiting because nobody's joining. I'm going to just answer these questions, then we're going to wrap this up. Becky said, I think you're right about the RXs except the high blood pressure meds. I don't know enough about them to speak on a specific drug. We'll take that, though. We'll take that as what you said. Grana said, I have 4 gardens. Well, good, Grana. Give me one because I have 0 gardens. All right, I don't grow any of my own food. So I'm trusting people who I don't even know who they are with stuff I'm putting in my body, which is less than ideal, but I need to be like you. I need to have a garden. Actually, no, I don't. I need to know somebody who has a garden. I'm not growing anything. All right, so organic food is great for you, so expensive. Well, relative to the garbage, yes. But I heard somebody say this on a TED Talk years ago. They said you can pay now or you can pay later. So you can pay for organic quality food now with money, or you can pay later when you're going back and forth to the hospital and filling prescriptions. So which payment do you want to make? Pick one. Seed oils are horrible. Yes, I've come to learn that. My wife knows about that stuff. I didn't know about it. Like French fries are cooked in seed oils, and I love French fries, but they're cooked in seed oil, so they're actually not good for you. The quality stuff is still tainted. Technically, that is right. If you're buying it at a store, it's probably tainted in some way, shape, or form in America, I would generally say. If you're not growing your own food, you're taking in some garbage, whether you know it or not. If you're not growing your own food, your own way, in your own soil, you are probably ingesting some garbage. And the best way to avoid all of that is to have your own garden and grow your own food. And most people don't have the resources to do that. And this is why everybody's screwed in some way, shape, or form. As they say it, that all deaths are the S word that I probably shouldn't say on here. The S word about taking your own life. All deaths are that. Nobody dies. There's no such thing as dying of natural causes. Any of you ever heard that before? There's no such thing. Everybody dies of something. You didn't die. There's no such thing as dying of a natural. There's no such thing as a natural cause. Natural cause is what you did that led to the situation. The cheap shit costs more to make, but yet sell it cheap should say everything. Good point. That's a good point. Echoes 9711. The soil is contaminated. That is correct. So if y'all go to other countries and you eat, my wife is from Europe. So in other countries, she says if you eat like a cucumber in Italy, it tastes completely different than a cucumber in America, which is crazy. Why is that? Because the soil that we grow stuff in is already contaminated, but the soil over there is not. So if you eat a tomato in Italy and you eat a tomato here, it's like, wait a minute, this don't even taste like a tomato. Any of you who's from outside of the country, please tell us. If you grew up outside of America, please let us know in the comments that what does fruits and vegetables taste like where you're from versus what they taste like here. Like these bananas that I just showed you, if I eat a banana in what's the country, France, it will taste nothing like the bananas we eat here in America. Stores like Dollar General replacing grocery stores, that's interesting. Scary and interesting at the same time. Someone said eat Whole Foods. Yeah. Eating from McDonald's. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so those fries are not real food. So when you eat French fries from a fast food restaurant, those are not, they're not French and they are fried. We can confirm they're fried, but they're not French and they ain't potatoes. Onyx says food neighborhoods are now deserts, forcing people to travel miles for quality meals. Well, here's the problem. Onyx, someone in a poor neighborhood ain't traveling nowhere. They stay right there and eat the garbage. That's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Dr. Addy said, when I want fast foods, I go to Whole Foods. They have a great hot food section. Okay. Now, is that actually fast? I don't know, Dr. Addy. I get what you're saying, but is that really fast? Eat food that rots. That's right. If your food doesn't rot, if you left it sitting there, then it's not real food. If I leave these Skittles sitting here for a month, nothing's going to happen. They're not real food. I'm going to eat them anyway because I'm human, but I'm giving myself an excuse here, tongue in cheek, but they're not real food. Whole Foods use a lot of bad ingredients. Yes, they do. They do. I agree with that. Dr. Addy says, everyone talking about problems, it's time to talk about solutions. Okay, I'm fine with that. Start us out. Fries changed in the 90s when they stopped using tallow. Yes, that happened because of money. It all happened because of money, folks. All of this is based on money. Everything y'all saying in these comments is based on money. RFK Jr. wants to make America healthy again. That's another reason why they don't want Trump to win, because RFK Jr. is going to come in and start telling people more of the stuff that they're calling him a conspiracy theorist for. But a lot of what he's saying is based in reality. It's true. Their siblings both know a lot about the medical industry. She's amazing. Oh, they're siblings. I thought they were husband and wife. Okay, they're siblings. Thank you, Carolyn. I didn't know they were siblings. I thought they were husband and wife. Okay, check out Dr. Addy's website. All right, Dr. Addy, don't advertise your shit on my lives anymore, but I'll give you that one. Just that one time because you've been participating. But don't do that anymore. My husband and I made a pact not to eat fast food, but on the road you can't help not to, and when we do. No, y'all can help it on the road, Echoes. What you do is you pack your food before you leave the house. That's all you got to do. Both had outbreak of pimples. Yeah, that's not good. Your husband and us, I'm assuming you're an adult. You getting pimples, yeah, you better watch what you're eating. You better watch what you're eating. So PG, if you buy leafy vegetables and there's no hole, is not good. That's interesting. All right. So what was the book on nutrition called again? Any of you read a book on nutrition, please? The one that I mentioned is called Good Energy by Casey Means. Good Energy. But there's a bunch of others. So any of you read a good book on nutrition, please put the book in the comments so I can make sure everybody knows about it. Trump has a better strategy this time. We'll see. Well, we'll see if he wins. First, he got to win. So we'll see. Trump and Musk want to dismantle 80% of the federal government. Yeah, that's why people don't like him. That's why people don't like. They don't want that because that's a lot of money. It's not about the government. It's about the money. They can label meat as made in the USA, even if it's from another country. Yes, that's another scam. Yes, that's also another scam. You're right about that. Yes, congress.gov. Y'all want to know the laws that are being passed under your nose? It is called congress.gov. That's every single law on the books is on their website. So you want to know what's happening in your country with the people who work for you, go over there and read. And they're probably social media people who do the heavy lifting and they break things down for you. But the thing is, they tell you the parts they want you to know. If you want to know the full truth, you got to get the information yourself. That's the issue. I'm not going to read all congress.gov. Every bill introduced over 250 pages. No, thank you. Well, Becca, that's the point. That's what they're betting on. They're betting that you won't read it. I'm not telling you should read it. I'm just saying that this is how they are able to get away with things. Yes, the bills are made that long so that you don't read them. That's the very point. Even the meat is injected with garbage. I agree. That is very true. Yes, they are. Brandon said, God gave us everything we need to heal ourselves naturally. That is also true. I agree with that. Granta said, we know there's a swamp because of Trump. Yes, there is a swamp. Issue is you try to drain that swamp, the gators are going to get you. Y'all seen alligators on National Geographic? All right. Yeah, it's hard to drain a swamp full of alligators. How are you going to do it? And alligators can move on land too. Don't forget. This is a problem. What you going to do? Tikoa said, I used to practice your dribble series for hours. Yes, sir. That is me. First time seeing you seems to be alive. America needs to be a part of. Yeah, we had a lot of people earlier. I've been going so long. I think people had to go to work. But we're going to wrap this up in a second. Onyx said Trump was going to ensure the survival of the swamp. Okay, well, I don't think anyone can drain the swamp. I don't care who it is. Democrat, Republican, nobody's draining that swamp. They say they're going to try, but we'll see. We will see. My husband and I just had that conversation about the pharmaceutical ads. Yes, that is the business. That is the business. I just found and followed you yesterday. Milk Shake. Yes, I remember you from the other day. Yes. Casey Means. Yes. Good Energy by Casey Means. Tiffany got it right there. Y'all can see it in the comments. Good Energy. The book is, and the title is, her name is Casey Means. She was just on the Joe Rogan show. Her and her brother, I thought it was her husband, but her brother, They're on the Joe Rogan show. So I'm going to listen to that interview and I'm going to read the book. Okay. Well, beloved and wise. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So everybody, I have a call that I got to get on in about 20 minutes and I still haven't eaten lunch yet. So I got to do that. David, I appreciate you. I see you over there on Instagram. Arvin says, I think it's pointless to care about politics. No, because the United States has a lot of influence. So it's not pointless. You should know what's going on because the United States has a ton of influence. Thank you, Gracie. I appreciate that. So everybody, Work on Your Game University. You want to work with me directly? That's the link in my bio. I do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Next week, I guarantee you I'll be talking about current events because we got an election coming up next Tuesday. So guaranteed I'll be talking about current events at least Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday because that's the hot topic. And listen, this is social media. That's what we do. So that's what I'll be talking about then. But topics like this, I'll be talking about as well because obviously it seems all y'all are interested. Y'all want to learn more about this stuff. All that said, I'm on all the platforms. So any platform you're following me on, I'm on all the other ones. So if you're on TikTok, I'm also on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. I'm on X. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Rumble. I'm on Facebook. So you can find me on every social media app and all y'all on the other ones. I'm on all the other ones as well. So if you only know about me from one app, I'm on all the other apps. If you want to see these long forms and replays or you missed something or you only caught half of it, go over to YouTube. Look up my name on YouTube. Just type in Dre Baldwin. My name is Dre Baldwin, D-R-E. Last name is Baldwin. And all of these lives, you can find them on YouTube as well. And you want to work with me directly, just go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's our main program where we do all of our coaching, all of our courses, etc. So these lives, again, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Today's Friday when I'm recording this. So next one will be Monday. And we absolutely will be talking about politics. All right, that's guaranteed. We're talking about politics because Tuesday is D-Day. That's the voting day. So y'all be there for that. And that's that. I got to go to the bathroom. I got to eat lunch and I got work to do. Everybody have a great day. We out.